Hey, what's going on, my BMX nerd friends? Welcome back to Kanode Knows, brought to you by Dig. Did you know it's brought to you by Dig? Shout out Dig. If you're watching on Dig's YouTube, you better smash that like button and hit subscribe because I said so. This week on the show, we got Eric Bahlman. Eric Bahlman is freaking awesome, and I've known him for longer than pretty much everybody in BMX world. But I've never really sat down and talked to him like this for this long. So hope you enjoy this episode of... Hope you enjoy this episode. Here's Eric Bahlman. Okay, we're podcasting, Eric. Hi, Eric Bahlman.
Are we doing it? Is this live?
It's live.
Holy shit, this is weird.
It's not live, but we're recording.
Okay.
So, what's your full name? Eric what Bahlman?
Eric Wayne Bahlman.
Wayne.
Yes.
After your dad?
My dad's first name is Wayne. His middle name is Clifford, but he goes by Cliff.
He actually has a crazy story.
Yeah.
Let's go into that, actually. What is Wayne Bahlman's story?
Wayne Bahlman is my dad. I don't know. Where do we start with him? What do you mean? What?
How was your childhood? How'd you get into BMX? Was Wayne involved in the BMX?
No, I didn't start off like my family wasn't into sports at all or anything like his brothers were into baseball and stuff like that. But I think I got into riding BMX because I was riding my mountain bike down the street, and it really was this one moment in time where I was just riding my mountain bike. I'm like, I could do this for the rest of my life. And Nice. It was literally those words that kept me going for some reason. And that was the drive to keep going. And I just loved being on my bike, riding around. It was just fun.
How old were you at this point?
Probably let's say 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah,
I'd say
11, 12.
Yeah. And then I got, I bought my first, it was actually because I went to, when I started going to middle school, we'd all ride our bikes to school. And I'm like, I can't ride this ugly ass mountain bike. It's cheesy and it's dorky. So I saved up money and I bought my first bike. It was a Mongoose Outer Limit. It was chrome with yellow stickers. And I was super pumped on it. I bought it from Walmart. And then I went to riding to middle school. I learned how to bunny hop, and I would literally just I got so stoked. I would just literally just bunny hop the whole way there. And all my friends would make fun of me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I learned this, and I just was just so stoked to be able to do it."
I like to bunny hop.
Yeah,
it's good.
And so yeah, I would bunny hop all the way to school. The first BMXer that I ever met was Nick Shest.
Tight.
Shout out to Nick Shest. He had the specialized, what was the TJ Lavin, the Fat Boy
Tight.
Frame, I believe. And I was super stoked to see that bike. And I think he might have shown me a magazine, and that was the first time I ever saw a BMX magazine. And I was like, holy crap!
This is in the 90s or the early 2000s?
This is late 90s.
Okay, yeah.
Because I started high school in 99, so this would have been 97, 98.
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, that's how I got into it. I was riding around with Nick and some friends around school, and then it wasn't open until high school is when I really, really got into it. And my dad could tell that I was super into it. He actually, we were out in California for something, and we stopped by this bike shop, and I'm like, this bike is so freaking cool. And he went back out there, and he came home, and he's like, hey, something's in the backyard.
Nice.
We'll go check it out. And I turned the corner, and it was a Haro Dave Mira Flare.
Sick.
Complete bike.
I remember those.
It came stock with left side drive. It was the first bike to come. They called it LSD back then. It wasn't LHD. It was left side drive, not left hand drive. And that's just where it all started. It came with pegs and everything. I started to learn how to grind, and that's just where it.
Dude, I've never thought about that. LSD versus LHD. I wonder when that change happened and why. That's because they were we don't want to be associated with LSD. Yeah,
that's too controversial. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure Haro, it was labeled as LSD, but I think it was gaining popularity. I'm assuming Haro was, X Games was a mainstream thing.
No drugs.
You can't say that.
Yeah.
I think they shortly switched it over.
So you've been LHD from the beginning.
Pretty much, yeah. Ever since I was actually riding and grinding stuff, because I didn't have pegs on my Mongoose or anything like that.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Horizon High School.
Have I ridden there? I feel like I've ridden at the place
there's
that
really
you went to high school.
There's really not much there to do at all.
Where is it?
56th and Greenway.
Okay.
56th Street and Greenway.
Roger.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't ridden there. Who knows?
But also near PV High School. That's what we rode there a lot. The PV skate park, when that opened up, that was like years later. But yeah, when I learned peg chinks, I would just peg chink every single curb on the way to school. Like same thing. I was just so obsessed with BMX. Got the dance comp mags and just like obsessing over all the parts and like all the magazines. Like you would just anticipate the next month so much because you're like, what's new? I can't wait to see the next thing, because there wasn't any social media. There wasn't, there was videotapes and stuff like that, but DVDs weren't out at that point. And actually my first VHS tape was the standard, it was Standard Country.
Nice.
And it was that between Standard Country or the, what was it? It's the Dave Mirra Nyquist, like the Miracle Boy versus or something. I forget what it was called.
Miracle Whip?
No, I gotta look it up. It was we can pull it up later. But it was like the Miracle Boy versus Nyquist or something like that. And it was either that or Standard Country. And I'm like, I'm gonna go with this. I don't know, like someone must have recommended it, and I think they might have said like, oh, like one of the locals is in it. And I'm like, oh, cool. And that was the Gons. The Gons was in it.
Yeah.
And when I watched that, and I'm like, I started seeing spots that were around here local, and just seeing that he was in Arizona, just like was so much more inspiring. Yeah. Like, oh, like it was relatable. And so the Gons was like the first rider I started to like follow.
Yeah.
But that quickly led into Rat Boy. He was a huge influence because, again, he was local. Him, Smoker Dave, the whole like Sombra crew. Yeah. Watching all those videos growing up. All the local like street riders, all brakeless, all like progressing BMX in a way I didn't know they were progressing, but it's just when I was watching, I'm like, man, this is so much cooler than seeing like the X Games stuff. It was like too corporate-y for me. I didn't really like that, and I really liked like the street, like
it's more relatable.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I could do that. I could like go right down the street and like try to grind this like little ledge or this little curb, like
exactly, versus like airing out of a half pipe 10 feet, and it's just like, I'm never gonna do that, but I can do a peg chink off of a curb.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have always been that obsessed practice Energizer bunny. I can only imagine you pedaling to school and literally bunny hopping the whole time with your backpack on. Yeah. Same thing with like inverts and everything. Every trick that you learned, I think that I've seen you just go in circles and obsess, and it works out. There's some clips that we filmed that took 3 different days and 4 hours each session.
I'm not consistent,
it works.
Guys. What you see might have taken hours, if not like thousands of tries. But
speaking of that, that makes me think of, because so the one I'm thinking of is in mediocre 180 Smith cab manual, 360 manual, 180. That was like a 3-day type mission. But your Ender and volume, what's the name of those shorter videos that you had a split with?
The volume 1.
Yeah, volume 1, and your last clip over.
I think mine was volume 2. I think I was in 2, volume 2. It was like me and Josh Clemens.
What was the clip you had to work for the hardest there? Was it the banger? The like just mani pad 180 backwards manual, half cab manual?
That one I was struggling. I don't know what was taking me so long. That's something I feel like I could have done typically, but I was, if you can see at the end of it, I was like drenched in sweat, and I was just so exhausted. I literally like crashed into like there's like this like chain link fence, and like my foot got stuck in it.
Nice.
And Mastroni was filming me, and he didn't even realize until like after he stopped. I'm like, my foot's stuck. He's like, oh shit, because he was on top of the roof, so he had to like jump down and like help me get out. But yeah, there's quite a few things that have taken me a long time to learn, and that was mediocre was definitely I think that one took me the longest to learn.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. Besides
well, actually, tail whips. I just learned one.
Yeah, dude. I saw that. I was pretty hyped for you.
Yeah.
That's your first one ever?
First one. And last time I tried it, I'm like, I'm afraid to try another one. 'Cause I'm like, it just felt so good. And I just want to like, all right, I'm good. I landed one tail whip. But that was my goal for like the longest time. Just like, I have to like land at least one.
Yeah.
I would go to Woodward. I could land them like in foam pits, but like sketchily.
Yep.
And then I could always just 1 foot, and then I was never getting the bars underneath my knees enough.
So what happened? How'd you land it? At age 37, 36.
what happened was I was riding with Dustin Orm.
Yeah.
He's a tail whipper and longtime best friend. Love Dustin. Shout out to him. He gave me some advice that it was really funny how he explained it. He's like, it's like a bird stalking the prey. Like you got to get your like legs up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. He's like, but you can like foot jam tail whip and you can like foot plant tail whip. I'm like, yeah, all the time because I like my feet are on the ground. And then I can like jump back in, or like my foot's in the tire, and then it swings back around, and I can jump on. For some reason, I can do those like no problem, but like a tail whip's different. And he's like, just imagine yourself doing like a foot plant, like a foot jam tail whip, when you're in the air. I'm like, oh, okay. And so when you go to do that, you lean forward and you push like your foot and your tire, and you lean more over the bars. And so because of that little bit of like a small minute like degree of like motion, like pushing myself a little bit more forward, brought the center of gravity
Right.
like underneath me, and I was able to spin around and like get beneath me, because I could always spin around. It's never the problem. It's just I would always spin it and like land like super far out. So shout out to Dustin for helping me land that.
Congrats after 24 years of
20
riding.
something years, yeah. Finally landed
awesome.
one.
Hell yeah. Let's go back. Stay towards the beginning, I guess. Like, how'd you link up with Ryan Chadwick? And like, I think I Got Work was my first exposure to you, or maybe even a web video with Kyle Carlson or something. But the scene in Arizona back then, what was your introduction into it? How'd you meet Chadwick? What happens after you get standard country and all that? Like, take me through that.
Okay, so back through high school, I'm riding just with my friends. I have so many like old VHS like cassette tapes. I took my dad's camera out and I would just like film everything, and so I have a bunch of old footage that I've been meaning to go through. But that's what like me and my high school friends would do. We just go out after school and just go ride all the time and just like film and just try to improve, and just meeting up random kids in the area. And it eventually ran into Ryan Chadwick and Sam Burrows and Dustin Orem. I think all three of them at the same time. There's
so just through riding, not through like anything else? Just
No.
like met up at a spot randomly?
There's no social media. There's no
Yeah.
there's no Facebook. There's no MySpace. There's no like you meet people by either going to an event, which there weren't events. I mean, there were a couple events, but it was just going out and riding street or going to the skate park. And if you met somebody, that's how you would meet people.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my friends, I don't even know who was there at the time, but we went to the Cactus Ditch.
Yeah.
And they're riding it because like Dustin lives right down the street from there. Sam lived down the street from there. Like that was like closer to their houses, and we just bumped into them, and that's just how we met. And I don't know like exactly what happened after that. Like we like instantly bonded or something like that. I think like, oh, like you guys are cool. Like when you guys like, where do you guys ride? Like what are your spots? Like I'm assuming that's what happened. And just from there, just like meeting up, we probably swapped like phone numbers or something like that. And just went out and rode.
This is on a Nokia or a Sidekick at this point. Do you remember?
This was before I didn't have a cell phone, actually.
So
Well, maybe
landlines?
no. Well, maybe just before. I got my first cell phone when I turned 16.
Which phone was it?
It was a Nokia brick. It was like this,
Yeah.
with like the snake game on it. Yeah. It wasn't until I had a job that my parents were like, okay, we can get you a phone.
All right,
Because,
you
like,
can have a phone, kid.
Yeah.
And now kids are getting them at like 10 years old, and they have
Mhm.
access to porn
Yeah,
immediately. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I just saw a video of one of those Nokia brick phones being one of those hydraulic compressor things that destroys things, and it surpassed like 1,200 tons of pressure. Like it was the strongest phone of all time. Like
I'm sure.
we took those things
Dude,
for granted.
yeah, those things were bricks. They could handle anything.
They were amazing. I remember playing Snake on the early cell phones.
Nice.
Yeah,
no, it was. I met them before cell phones because I remember Sam driving us places because he's the oldest and he was allowed to drive, and so like I remember him taking us places to spots and stuff like that. And
nice. Good old Sam.
Yes.
We miss Sam.
Sam Burrows. Shout out to Sam.
How old would you say you are at this point? And which era of Eric Bahlman are we talking about? Long hair, bandana, chainless?
This is my high school. This is 13, 14 years old, probably 14, I think is when I met them. So like, I think end of freshman year, sophomore year is when I met them. This was me just
what
like,
did you look like?
just shaggy hair,
Okay.
just like wearing BMX clothes.
What kind of
just
BMX
like,
clothes? Do you remember?
specifically?
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't have, what was like my first, I don't remember.
What company were you a fan of in high school? 'Cause that's what sticks with you. I feel like that. I still remember this shit that I was like stoked on when I was 16 more than the stuff that I was stoked on 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it was Standard for sure because Rat Boy.
Rat Boy.
I had my first aftermarket part was a Standard stem.
Nice.
I replaced that I didn't need a new stem, but I just replaced it because I needed a new stem. And I also got Standard 4-piece bars. And
OG.
yeah, and the Standard was like the first company, but I don't remember having too much Standard apparel. It was more just like parts.
Yeah.
And then my first frame ever, my first like actual frame, like besides the Haro, because I was a complete, was the Kink Freebird.
Shout out Kink Freebird. Whose was that?
Ryan
Schurz?
Schurz.
Yeah.
That was the first. I had literally like I had pre-ordered it, and I had like literally just came out. I saw it in some magazine, and I'm like, this thing looks so freaking cool. And I forget there was some geometry difference. Ryan will have to give us some input on that, but I remember it being this like, in my head at least, it was like some type of like groundbreaking type of like, I don't know if it was the weight. It was like, oh my God, it's like 5 pounds or like 6 pounds.
5 pounds was light back then.
Yeah, and it was like this, like, oh my, it's like one of the lightest frames, something like that. And I don't know, I just fell in love with it, and I ordered it through Rage Cycles.
Damn, I missed that shop. Are they still around?
They're still around.
Okay.
They moved. They're on Thomas and 64th Street.
Yeah, I remember when I was in the
Used to be on
mountain biking,
Thomas
they
in
were sick.
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And they had like this little dirt thing in the back.
Yeah.
That was like super fun. So
Yeah.
I would go there. Rat Boy was like sponsored by Rage. That's where he do all his stuff with. And
I wish I could be there at Rage to watch Rat Boy ride in the backyard. That would have been cool.
dude, it's crazy. Like just hanging out at the bike shop, and then like Rat Boy comes in, and there's actually this one. There's a story, and he came in, and he had this like his seat was just thrashed, just like totally destroyed. It's like the Dave Mira seat, the big fat one,
Yeah.
but it was a SDG
Yeah.
branded one, and it was just like destroyed. And I'm like, hey, can I have that? And he's just like, no. I'm like, no. I was like, damn it. I was like so excited to try to like have something that was his. But that's like the Scottsdale scene. Like we would go to the Wedge all the time.
Was that your first time interaction with Rat Boy?
First interaction.
Hey, can I have that? And what was he like? Because I've talked to him now, but I obviously didn't know him back then. Like, what was he like?
He was just doing his own thing. He wasn't like really didn't come up and I mean, we were kids. I don't know how he'd come up like, hey, how's it going, guys?
True,
like,
yeah.
But that's how I am. I'll go to the skate park, and I hope people don't think that like I don't like them, but like I'm just like I give him a head nod, and I'm just not the biggest.
You're in your own little world.
Yeah, and that's what he would do. And I don't know exactly the first time I met him, but there were times where I think it was probably at the Wedge when he'd be riding the Wedge and just like being destroying it.
Yeah.
Manualing all the way up from the top, like where that big bank is, all the way down up the Wedge, across the Wedge, and like we were blown away. And there's even a clip of my friend saying like, that's the longest fucking manual I've ever seen in my life. Like we were all blown away. And then he would just do shit like he would just jump the entire Wedge, and that's not easy. And so like he would just jump it, or he'd do no footed can. I have footage of him supermaning the Wedge.
Damn.
By himself.
Wow.
No one around, just us, and like he just like casually Superman the fucking Wedge.
We need that clip. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, that was first few interactions with him. He was just in his own world. He's just doing his thing. He was just so focused on the riding and progressing, and I never had really.
He was obsessed.
He'd come in, ride, and then just leave.
That's you. you got that. You got that same spirit.
Exactly.
You were talking about the manuals, and I would still like. I can remember. I'm not that impressed by them anymore because I've done them for 20 years. But like at the beginning of getting into BMX, just holding a manual is like, whoa, you can do that? That seems so insane and impossible. And then I would ride around the neighborhood and just pull up and practice.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you did the same thing.
I was just about to say, I learned manual all the way to school. Like.
Yeah, it's good. It's like a timeless, cool trick that
I've told people this before. If I could die manualing just like off a cliff, just like into an oblivion, I'd just be happy. Like I could just manual for the rest of my life. Yeah, and I love it. I challenge myself to manual around skate parks all the time.
Yeah.
If it's a new skate park, like how can I manual around this entire thing?
So you didn't do the racing growing up?
Never did racing. It was like it was actually kind of was like dirt jumps, like little. There was this lot by our house that had these like little jumps that people made. And so I guess that was like my first real experience with BMX, I think, was actually like more of like dirt and like kind of like little rollers,
baby jumps,
like little baby dirt jumps. Yeah. Not actual like doubles, but like just like little mounds.
Yeah. And
I think that's like where it really started.
That show is exciting. Just riding a little dirt mound when you're 16 or 15 or however old is so exciting. Just like catching air. I remember I hurt myself before basketball practice one time at my little dirt jump thing, and I swore off dirt jumps. I was like, I'm never touching dirt jumps again. And then I kind of kept that promise, dude. I've never hit dirt jumps since. But
yeah, I was never a big dirt jumper. I don't know what it is. It's just the consistency of it. I couldn't.
It's very uncomfortable for me to be in the air. That weightless feeling that you get, it scares the shit out of me. I'd rather just balance or do,
Yeah, I like to stay low to the ground, for sure.
But that's not always been the case for you. Like, you did 540 to disaster in one of your parts. You can air out and tabletop pretty damn high.
That part of me came later, and I think that was right around the end of high school. So this would be, I graduated 2004, and this is when the park scene really started to explode in BMX. This is like Road Fools, like 9, or no, was it 8? There's one where they went to like around a bunch of like indoor skate parks. This is when there's just like a lot of ramp footage. I remember just like a lot of like ramps. The
Midwest scene was big.
Yeah, I was gonna say Midwest, like the good old like Manual to Nowhere 180 was like huge. And that was just like the thing, like over ice picks on
lots of spine tricks, street spines,
hitch and posts were like huge, like the sub rails basically. And that's kind of where my riding went a little bit. And this is where I would say, well, after Rat Boy, I watched Jason Enns. That was my next big thing. It was Enns. Watching him in Little Devil, Criminal Mischief was just like mind blowing. I was like, oh my God, like I just loved his style so much. Like his tables, he was 4 pegs, grinded both sides. And so I was really big into that. I actually kind of like dressed, I found a blue volume hat at one point, or it was like a demolition hat or something like that. And I remember wearing it because I wanted to look like Enns.
Hey.
Because he wore like a blue backwards hat and like black hoodie and stuff. And
what was it about Enns versus anybody else in the video?
I think it was just, I don't know. I just really liked his style. I really like his tables. Some of the shit that he was doing was just, I don't know. It was like street tech. He wasn't a big park guy as far as like airing high. Like if you see old footage of him, he really started out with like front brakes, like doing all the nose pick stuff and like the toothpick to. That's kind of what I think of when I think of Jason Enns. And now you see him like he's got all those old vintage bikes and he's riding. He's like, have you seen him? Mm-mm. Dude? He has these super old vintage bikes and he rides the crap out of them. It doesn't just sit there and he doesn't polish them. Like he goes out, puts like a huge bash guard on the thing and like and rides his ramps at his house and just like destroys them. Yeah.
Which leads me to ask, you have a vintage bike collection, do you not? Or did you get rid of it?
I still have them. They're vintage mountain bikes.
So you're talking Jason has vintage BMX bikes.
Vintage BMX bikes.
That's pretty gangster. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's stick on that because I that was a cool hobby that I think. So you and I were roommates, I don't know, 4 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
And then after I left, you started a vintage road vintage mountain bike. I don't know,
Restoration.
fixer upper project.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What got you into that? And
I got into that just because I don't know. I came across something where, just something on Instagram or something like that. Like someone having like these old bikes. I'm like, "Oh, this just looks so cool. I don't know why. I just like was really into them, and I was just looking for a hobby, something else to do, and so I fixed up a bike and sold it to a friend at work. Did that like a couple times. And then I just started like amassing this collection of all these bikes, just going on OfferUp, Craigslist, and buying them for like 40, 50 bucks. Cause everyone's like, this old piece of shit. Like who's going to want this? And the coolest one I have, I think there's a Hutch mountain bike, which Hutch was like super big in the early 80s as a BMX company. Yeah. Like Hutch parts is like, they're really expensive, like OG parts. And I didn't even know they made a mountain bike. And I saw this, I'm like, what the fuck, a Hutch mountain bike? And so I swooped that up. But
how much did you pay for it, and how much is it worth fixed up? Gary Vee would be so proud of you, going around finding these deals and fixing them up and hustling.
I think the guy said he knew like what it was worth, and I looked it up, and I think one was like selling for like $900.
Wow.
But I bought it for like $300, but that was still, I don't know if I'll get.
You still have it. You don't want to sell it.
I still have it. I might sell it. I don't know. I really have no like need for it. Yeah. But even if I got my money back, like I'm not doing it to like make money. I just
you are. You're gonna be a millionaire restoring vintage bicycles, dude. Don't lie. It's all about the money.
No. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to, and I made some money off of the couple bikes that I sold, but it was just I think I got into it, and that's when my wife and I, Giselle, we started to renovate our house. And that just like took the back burner because we were like, we gutted our entire house, like did everything in like 6 months. And so when we got out of it, we were still like moving back into the house, and then summer was coming, and like, I want to work in the garage, like wrenching on bikes, like scrubbing the crap out of them. And in the summer, it's way too hot. So I just put that again.
Put it on pause.
Put it on pause. And then shortly after that is when I got hired with Pace. Yeah. And that just took over my life. So like, there's just been no time to work on these things. So they're just sitting in my backyard.
We got some cool vintage bikes for sale. If you're looking for a Hutch, hit up Eric Bahlman.
Hutch, I got a couple GTs. I got a bike that actually folds in half. That's like super cool.
That is pretty cool.
It was actually pitched back in the day that it can fit in like the back of your like BMW. Like you could like fold it.
Oh,
and, like,
fancy.
That was nice.
It's good marketing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned GT, and that brought back fond memories. Was that your first sponsor?
GT was my very first sponsor.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's rewind. Before getting sponsored, you did.
Well,
I got work. Let's talk about I got work.
Yeah, I guess you could say my first sponsor was Core Bikes.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And they were a local BMX shop. It was actually Ryan worked at Rage. And then he went on to, he's like, I'm going to open my own shop and do like downhill mountain bikes and BMX stuff. So he opened up Core. It was only like a couple miles away from that other shop, but opened that up.
Was there drama there? Was it like, fuck you guys, I'm going to go run my own shit?
I don't know the history. I don't know the story behind it. I'm sure there might be something there, but I don't know. I just know that the scene kind of like, that was like the first like BMX specific shop. Well, no, there was Gordy's, because Gordy's was on the west side. They were really big into racing. Right. Like they were like big racing, like heavy type of shop. But then on the east side, there wasn't anything. So that's where Core came in. Yeah. And all of us east side boys.
That's east side boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where we hung out. It was close to the wedge. And so it was just like a spot that we all hung around.
Yeah, which is dope. And then eventually Core Bikes presents I Got Work.
Yeah, and so Chadwick being so Ryan Chadwick went to school, was in film class, really into creating videos, and he would film us throughout the years. And he came up with an idea of creating a video for Core. And Ryan was stoked on the idea. Both Ryans were stoked on the idea. And so we just started to go out and film and stack footage. And I don't know the exact time frame which that whole video took to film. I would say probably like 2 years or something.
2003 to 2005, maybe a little bit later than that, 2004 to
No.
2006.
I don't even remember when it came out.
I remember just being able to drive, so I'm 15 or 16 to go to the premiere.
I would say 2005.
That sounds about right.
2005 or 6.
Yeah.
Because that was like it would have been 2005 or 2006, I believe. Yeah.
And there was a premiere in the garage.
It wasn't even their garage.
Core?
It was like a
door.
random there's like big shop bay that I think some guys that worked on cars there let him use.
That's so sick.
They're like, we'll just clear out our shit and you guys can have it like this weekend. So we went there, like it was like a Saturday or something, and had it projected, and it was really cool to actually see something that you made in front of like everybody to watch it at the same time and like see it on the big screen. It's like, wow, this is cool. Like we made
the
this.
Homies, yeah. So sick. That changed my life, that premiere. That was the first BMX premiere that I had ever been to. I'm trying to remember if it was before or after A Happy Medium. I think it was before. And it was me and Cleon and maybe somebody else. I can't remember. But we came out from... I was a West Side boy, and we came out and we saw I Got Work, and I was like, holy shit. I just fell in love with Lufa and you. Lufa's riding was so cool, and the video altogether, I was just like, oh, wow, I want to do that. That's so cool. And and then Core, I Got Work. Did Core did the whole series? There's 2? 3?
Yeah, there were 2. There was the name of the video actually became because we would try to go film. I'm like, hey, do you want to film today? And
Sorry,
like, I got work.
Yeah.
And that's how like Ryan came up with the idea of the name. It's because everyone was like, oh, sorry, man, I got work. And so that came out, super pumped on that. And then shortly after, I think that got distributed through Sparky's. Or no, maybe it was Dan's. I forget, like the first I Got Work might have got distributed through somebody. I definitely know the second one did.
Yeah.
Got distributed through Sparky's. So the second one came out. We actually did a premiere in a movie theater. And that was really, really
the
cool.
Tempe Cinema Pollock.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was dope. That one was really fun to do. And that was called I Got Work Strikes Back. It's just because Chadwick's super
Star Wars nerd.
Loves it.
Big time. Yeah.
And if we made a third one, it was going to be... I Got Work, Return of the Loofah.
Shit, that'd be so good.
But that never came to fruition. I think we all just were going our own ways, or like just was so tied up with work, and we just never like sat down to like film a whole nother part.
And it's just, you have to be young and dedicate your entire life to do a full length project.
Well, honestly, actually, because
so much.
Because Chadwick got hired to work at Sparky's to be their TM videographer after I Got Work 2 came out. Yeah. Because they distributed it, they saw it, and they actually came out. There's a shadow trip, I believe. They came to Arizona and they met up with Chadwick, and they're like, dude, you're awesome. Like, can you
come work for us?
Yeah, come work with us. And so that's how that whole thing happened.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's how he that's when he got into Shadow, and so that's why there's no I Got Work 3, honestly, is because he started filming with Shadow and doing so much work with them, to ultimately leading to What Could Go Wrong. Yeah. So.
What Could Go Wrong? What a masterpiece What Could Go Wrong is.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. What's your favorite video of Chadwick's that he's made? Not full length, just any video of all time.
Any video that Chadwick made. There's some good ones. Like edits?
Yeah, edits included.
I don't know, man.
There's so many.
I mean, I Got Work, or not I Got Work. What Could Go Wrong was he put his like heart and soul into that. It was pretty good. He put a lot of effort into that. He traveled everywhere. He filmed. I can't imagine how many hours he filmed. Like, how much do you think? How many hours are filmed versus how many minutes are used in? Because a video is like what?
45 minutes to an hour, yeah.
Maybe, so 60 minutes.
But you're spending a 10-hour day out riding for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we filmed for over an hour.
Yeah.
Thousands of times.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like maybe 4 hours per 10 seconds of footage. So add that up and you're at an astronomical hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours condensed into
tapes
one hour.
Or memory cards or, whatever. It was grueling.
It sure is grueling. Is, man.
You know more than the rest, so Yeah, it was. I'd say What Could Go Wrong was probably the best. It was like his highest production. He put his heart and soul into that. It was phenomenal. It came out on iTunes, which is really freaking
that is
cool.
cool.
Like the fact that we are on, I can go to iTunes right now and like you can download it and buy it and watch it, whatever.
It's pretty cool.
And it's pretty cool. The only downside to that is that you had to get everything had to be license free.
Yeah.
So like the music choice, like you couldn't just like, oh, like I'm just gonna pick whatever song I want.
Right. You had to reach out to the artists and get them to sign.
Which actually some
agreement.
of them like agreed on that. Like there was it LaShawn's part? Was the Come Trues?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like,
pretty crazy.
That was probably the most popular song I think that was used. And
Yeah.
there's a couple other ones, but yeah, all the footage, all the writing, all those guys are so awesome. I love the Shadow team. Super down to earth guys.
Yeah.
Super chill.
The music thing was interesting because I had to do that when I worked for them too. Is clear every single song, even for YouTube, which like was overkill at the time. I think it's okay to use. It happened. It messes with monetization, but like I was surprised by how like humble and chill artists are, like to the point where I was emailing them a document and saying, hey, could you please, first of all, can I use your video or use your song in this video of a BMX? It's for Sabrosa brand. Check us out, blah, blah, blah. And then have them find a printer, print out the contract, sign the contract, take a picture of the contract, and send me a picture of that signed contract.
Crazy.
Which is, you know, had I not, like DocuSign existed, which is an online signing thing, but I didn't know about it, so I had them do it that way. And I cleared it. It was a cool learning experience to like learn how to be a music acquisitions manager. I don't even know the job title of that.
Isn't that one of the hardest parts of making a video is finding the song?
Yeah, 100%. At least one of the most time consuming and like bottleneck parts of it is just like listening to music and being in the right mood and like visualizing.
Yeah, because you have all the footage, but it can't go anywhere until you have the song.
Yeah,
because the song is what sets the tone of that part or that whole video. They all have to coincide with each other. You can't have something that's like too off-putting. Like it has to have like a rhythm.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's an art in itself.
All right, so I got work, and then I got work 2. Still no sponsored, no hookup from Shadow, even though Chadwick got the. I feel like you were on Shadow before GT, or no?
No, I was on GT first because of you.
Oh, really? Tell me more. How did that happen?
So GT, you got on GT because you submitted a video. It was like a contest, like whatever. Was it the best video or like
I forget.
The coolest?
Yeah, it was
something.
Joint. It was called the GT Project, and they did it on Vital BMX, and they invited everybody to submit a web video for your chance at getting sponsored by GT Bikes. And then I lost, but they were going through all the losers, and Chuck, the TM, was like, "This kid's got style. I like him." And then they put me on. So it was me and a bunch of.
I thought you won. I didn't know you
lost.
No,
I lost. I got a consolation prize.
I've been hyping you up and telling everyone you won.
No, because there's a bunch of park kids like that could do flips and tail whips and all the stuff that
all the big stuff.
I definitely couldn't do. But I was riding street and filming like street parts at that point, and they saw it and they liked it. So that worked out cool. And then I don't remember, so that's why you got to fill me in. What happened with you?
I don't even know. I think you went to Australia on that trip, and I think it was. After that trip, something, I don't know how they came across me, or you had mentioned me, or talking about the Arizona scene. And maybe they were talking about because you were a free coaster rider, and maybe they saw me as well because Chuck really liked the free coaster stuff. So I think he just, I don't know if you introduced us or he hit me up. I don't know how that like actually happened.
I think it's probably just as simple as like, hey, you guys should hook up Eric too.
And then, probably. And they're like, yeah, we'll send you a frame. And I got this complete, not a complete frame, but I got a frame in the mail.
It was white.
It was white. It was like
remember.
my very first one. And then I got like a black one after that. And I think some other one.
I remember because the white frame is sparking my memory of like, we were just filming. I was just filming like little random montages of friends, and it hadn't turned into serious yet. Like mediocre wasn't really an idea yet. And then you and I we worked on a video part, and then so you're on GT, we worked on a video part together, and then Shadow. You're welcome to Shadow. Am I right?
No.
What happened?
So after GT came Stranger.
Oh, Stranger before Shadow.
Stranger was, I think, just before Shadow.
Okay.
So Stranger comes along, and I think you got picked up. You were picked up by. You were on Stranger before I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So double layup.
Alley-oop.
You've given me 3 big layups in my life, and so I'm beyond grateful for all the opportunities.
You came to my 16th or 17th or
18th.
18th birthday party at my parents' house in Peoria when
I remember that. That was fun.
24
I was around,
or something.
yeah,
So
a bunch of
cool.
18-year-olds. I'm like 3 years older. It wasn't that big of an age group, but
but it meant it was cool because you were the only like BMX friend from the other side of town that actually came out. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was dope. Yeah, the pool party, trampoline. I remember.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so then jog my memory.
So then I don't know how you got in connection with Stranger. Was it Charlie?
Stranger came through Rich directly, I think.
But that was because you were.
I did the TCU internship, and I stayed
at the OSS house.
At the OSS house with Rich and all those guys, Catfish and Adam. And then I talked to Rich a little bit and got to know him a little bit, and then I guess it felt pretty random. I think at one point Rich just sent a text or a phone call of just like, you guys should just come ride for Stranger, and I was like, okay, yeah, Stranger was way cooler than GT, in our opinion, you know. And so I think that started happening, and like we learned, it's just what you make it. I don't know, like it's not like you get handed everything on a silver platter. You get a free bike, and then maybe you get to travel sometimes, but it's just up to you to make videos, and that's kind of, I think, what we started doing, which is kind of crazy to think about. So
yeah, I think if you're not out there riding and filming the stuff and like making things, like companies aren't going to see you as like, oh, like, yeah, you're a good rider, but like, how do I even know you exist? Like, you have to show basically your job history. Like, these are the tricks I've done. This is my style. And obviously your personality goes a long way. People don't want it like some jerk to be on their team.
Yeah.
But I think, the fact that, I think you and Chadwick a lot as well for being like for filming all my stuff, because without you guys, without any filmer, there's no me. There's just me like riding around. And so like,
it's weird how that works, because not everybody has like a local filmer who's obsessed with filming and trying to get better.
It's rare. And, but I think there definitely needs to be more filmers out there, but it's like a harmonious thing. You have to find someone who's passionate with filming and then someone who's passionate with riding.
Right. Yeah.
And, like you, me and Chadwick, like I got into like the filming stuff later, but it was definitely like, we love doing both.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like one or the other. It's like, I love doing both.
Yeah.
And
dude, it's crazy. You're actually like the memory. So first of all, one side note is getting good at filming gives you a leg up against everybody in this new modern economy, as far as like making money goes outside of BMX. Like, everybody wants video. Everybody wants,
everything's digital now,
content. So like, if you're out there and you're listening and you're a BMX person thinking about getting into filming, go ahead and do that, and then you'll thank yourself later. Anyway, so GT happens, and then we leave GT for Stranger, because I don't know why, but because Stranger's cooler. And now I remember People versus Things, the footage in that I filmed of you. You're on your white frame, and it's like, look at
was I on my white frame?
You were on your white frame for at least one clip in that video. The Herrera's burrito ledges off like 85th, 83rd and something. I remember that clip specifically. And the Charlie edit of, oh, look at Eric
from Billy Madison.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Solid.
And so then, is that what sparked, like, what happens after that? Does that move the needle for you at all? People versus Things?
I think I think that was like actually making a web video. I think that's when web videos were, because you made the TCU summer internship video.
Yeah, and you had a part in that.
And had a part in that, I think.
And you were on the white frame. That's GT days. Yeah. For sure.
And I guess just like seeing, like, making videos and making that content, I'm like, that's what I love to do. And I love to be around people who make content and create things. And to like show, like put all this hard work and to show like what you guys created. It's just like an artistic way.
That was a cool one, dude. Gabe Brooks,
man.
Joey Mata, Eric Bahlman.
Gabe Brooks literally told
Adam
me,
22
he's like,
in there,
you remind me of
Catfish.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's like, you Bill Nye Science Guy motherfucker or something like that.
I can see that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he thought I was like straight up like just super white nerdy dude. Which
Rest in peace.
I definitely
Rest in
am.
peace, Gabe Brooks. Damn.
Yeah, man, that's sad.
Oh man.
Yeah, what a trip.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye motherfucker. And then writing for Stranger, and then that's when Chadwick started working for Shadow. He was talking to them about me and was like, hey, like, would you want to be on like Flow with Shadow? I'm like, dude, yeah, would love to. Like, and that's when we got together and filmed the intro, or not, the Welcome to, the infamous LMFAO song.
Sexy, and I know it. It's a beautiful piece of work. I'll tell
It's a
you.
masterpiece.
Without that song, it's nothing.
It really
Just
isn't.
kidding.
No, and everyone was on the fence. I wasn't sure of it. Ronnie didn't like it. Ronnie's
Nope.
like, no.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Sure didn't like it. Nobody liked it.
no one did, because it's fucking Element. And when those guys came out, when that song came out, like that song had just come out,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, these corny motherfuckers. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? But you understood that gains not popularity, but like attention. And it's just like, it set it apart from other videos that were just like either rap or like rock or like, you know, like metal. It was like, wait, what's this song? And it kind of just like set it apart. And
It's really fun to edit to, the beat and just like the timing of like you landing literally everything in that video is timed out to the music, like mwah. And then they said no, change the song, and so I just kind of dropped a different song in there, and I was like, here you go. And then they were like, all right, fine, let's go with LMFAO. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, so
I don't care if
we
people
got
hate it.
their
I love that thing.
approval,
Yeah.
and that went up, and that was, I think that really started to push my career actually into BMX, is like getting picked up by Shadow, and now I was like writing for Stranger and Shadow, and I was just like, anytime I've like ever been like sponsored or like flowed things, like I rep them like
Super hard.
yeah, because I mean that's what you're here for. You're here. You got to understand that every single BMX company is here to make money. They're not here to just be your friends. Like at the end of the day, they're here to make money. And if you're not a rider that is promoting what they do to sell their products, like what's the point? It's like, we want you because you're a good rider, so you can show off our parts, and like people want to be like Mike, like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I want to be like Enz, so I'm gonna like be like Rat Boy, so I'm gonna buy all standard stuff, like same thing. But how would I know that Rat Boy rode all standard stuff? Is because he would wear standard
And
stuff.
all the stickers and everything.
Yeah.
Repping. You know? Yeah. That's an interesting topic, because there's kids, or not kids, like sponsored riders that barely rep. Like, I don't know. But I would say that there's like that too cool to wear the sponsored shirt type attitude amongst a bunch of sponsored dudes. And that's an interesting topic. Like, what would you say? Like, if I don't know.
I think it teaches their own. I think that's if you want to be that way, that's fine. But for me, in my perspective, I'm going to try to represent the brand as much as I can. Yeah. I'm going to work. I'm going to do my job. And because I feel like that's what my job is that I'm a spokesperson for their brand. Yeah. And so I have to represent their brand. I have to represent their parts. I have to recommend their parts. And I've loved all the parts that I've ridden. I've just never anything I've disliked. I've never like, I'm not riding these. Yeah. You know, I've heard of kids like, I don't like these grips, I'm not going to ride them. Yeah. It's like, but now you're riding someone else's company, and that's not us. And it was like, seeing stuff like that was always like, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, I'll ride whatever you give me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I was never the one to take advantage of the parts. I would always like ride stuff until it breaks. Yeah. I was never like, I need another wheel. It's like, I just gave you one like 2 months ago.
So yeah, that's a common hustle.
Oh yeah, people would like
couple
get a new frame and sell the old one or something like that. I rode everything until it pretty much broke. So
what were you doing like during the, I guess, Sexy and I Know It period, or the People versus Things? Were you working at Cornish Pasty at that point, or still McDonald's? What's your job history, Eric?
It's
like it's a short list, right?
It's not too long. No, it's I hang around for a while. My first job was McDonald's. So my first job when I was I think even before I was 16, like might have been like 15 3/4 or something, like almost when I was 16. I think you can I think you can work at that time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I was a busboy when I was 15 and a half.
My sister had worked there, so I got like word of recommendation. But also I was getting to the point where I was like about to be 16 and my dad's like, you need to find a job.
Time to get a job, kid.
Yeah, basically. He's like, I will drive you around. I'll take you all these places. You will spend the whole day grabbing resumes, and you need to find a job by like the end of the month or something like that. And then just McDonald's was the first one, and started working there. I worked there for.
How'd you feel about working at McDonald's? What was it like?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I was everyone loved me there. Everyone because I don't know. I just like to work, and I was given. I was put into like working the drive-through and doing the cash register.
Yeah.
And my job, like your downtime, is to like make the pack like the Happy Meal bags with like the toy. You like open it up, put the toy in, put another bag in there, open it up, put the toy in. So they basically just be like stacked.
Yeah.
I to the point where I filled up the entire break room to the ceiling with Happy Meal bags. And the other employees were pissed off at me, like, dude, now I got fucking nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like now I look like I'm sorry, like sorry I went out of my way. Like that's your problem. And I don't know. I loved working there. Dustin worked there with me for a short amount of time. That was Dustin's first job. And he was the same thing. I would be at the front like cash register, and he'd be at like the takeout where he'd hand people things to the drive-through, and we'd be on our headsets just
That's
having
fun.
having so much fun and just like messing around. And I remember one time we went in the back and we're grabbing a bunch of like sauces, and we're just like joking around, and we dropped some, and like some ranch spilled on the ground, and Dustin's like, oh, I'm gonna fall, and he actually like slipped and straight up like banana peeled it straight to his back in the back freezer at McDonald's. And oh my god, like he ate it so bad.
He could have got that McDonald's money, dude.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of other things that were fun there too. Like we would make our ice cream cones like this fucking tall. Like,
Yes.
and
Beautiful.
just hand them to people, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like we just like
Congratulations.
We'd
you
always
won the
we'd always
double.
hook people up. And
What's up with the ice cream machine being broken? Is that a real thing?
I don't remember that being a thing when I was working there. This was back in the day, and this is
That's when McDonald's was good.
this is like again like 98,
Yeah.
97, 98.
The golden days.
Or no, that wasn't that early. This was like early 2000s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was fun.
Was there any lessons that you
so
before
much
you moved
free
on?
food? Oh my god, we could get a free meal when we got to work, on our break, and when we left.
That's a lot of free food, free McDonald's.
And I was like, dude, this is
awesome.
Dustin took advantage of that so bad. He would get the double quarter pounder supersized every single time, every meal, because he was like, well, if it's free, I'm gonna get the biggest thing I can get.
It's logic.
And he literally got a cholesterol problem. Like I remember him like saying, I went to my doctor and said like your cholesterol's like extremely high. You got to cut back on the double quarter pounders, supersize 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So that was McDonald's days. And then my first job after that is
Well, hold on, before the next job.
Okay.
What's a lesson you learned from working at McDonald's? A life lesson.
A life lesson.
I think you actually kind of just said one, because the way that other people react when you work hard, and it kind of like makes them feel insecure, like you know what I mean? Like other people are mad at you for performing well. It's like that's interesting. You know what I mean?
I think I inherently just liked, not like I want to be the best, like in a bragging way. I just want to be, I guess, respected. I want people to know that I'm like a responsible, respectable employee. And same as a writer.
Yeah.
I'm an employee. The same thing. I want to be seen as someone that they can depend on, someone that's going to do the thing.
You work real hard, I'll tell you that.
And that's what I got, that work ethic from my parents. My mom was, workaholic. My dad owned businesses. So yeah, they just work.
So like, do you think that just rubs off on you, or is it like you work hard to try and like get the approval of your parents type shit? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was to, I just think that's how I was. I don't know if it was like to make my parents happy. I think it was just to like, that made me happy to see others be like, wow, like thanks for doing what you did. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like that, getting that like approval or respect,
validation, etc. Yeah. Dope.
I think that's where that came from.
That's a good life lesson. All right. What's after McDonald's work-wise?
Then I go into, this is after high school. So I worked at McDonald's for 2 years until I turned 18. All my friends are moving to Tempe to go to college. I didn't go to college. It freaked me out. I am like, I don't know what I'm doing. This sounds like way too much money. I'm afraid to dive into it. And the next year, like, I don't want to do this.
Smart.
So I was like, I'm just going to go work. So I just basically just dived into the workforce. And my very first job was working at Toys R Us. Being a bike assembler.
Nice.
So I assembled all the complete bikes, like the Barbie bikes and like, West Coast Choppers. That TV show was super huge. So those big, like, chopper bikes.
Yep.
We'd like, people were buying those up like crazy back then. They're such pieces of crap, but that's what
They were hot.
I'd be in the back just like building bikes. And then shortly after that is when I got an opportunity to work at Industrial.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where my job at Industrial I worked at Industrial for the longest time.
Does Industrial still exist?
No, they went under a few years ago.
Industrial Ride Shop.
Industrial Ride Shop was like the first local AZ skate shop. I mean, I'm not a skater. Don't quote me on that. Cowtown was probably around before that. I know what's the place by the Wedge? Sidewalk Surfer. Sidewalk Surfer is like they've been around since like the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started working at Industrial. I think shout out to Badger. I think Badger put in the word for me.
Nice.
I believe.
That's Casey Badger.
Casey Badger. I believe he sent me a recommendation that like they were needing someone to work in the warehouse, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Nice.
So, which I actually loved because working in the warehouse was so much better than working in the storefront because they were in like multiple malls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I got to just work in the warehouse where they just started this like they had online shipping, and so I would just pack orders every day and ship them out. And so I was
That's dope.
Got to be back in the warehouse, all day, and that's I was there long enough to become like I was like the warehouse manager, and I just worked there for
the ranks.
like 6 years, I think.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's so crazy to think about back then because I don't know what this is 2008 or 9 or
this is probably like 2005, 6,
and that's early, like the mail order type shit. Where you can
it was
buy
pretty,
stuff online.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. And our biggest competitor was CCS, which they're still like. I think
CCS is still going on.
Yeah.
They beat you.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't compete with them. It's just like.
Was Industrial big? Because I feel like why do I feel like it's a nationwide or worldwide thing?
It started in Arizona on Thunderbird and Scottsdale Road, right? Scottsdale? No, Thunderbird and Hayden, I believe.
Just as a regular skate shop.
As just a small skate shop, yeah.
And then they got into mail order and did well and opened a warehouse.
Mm-hmm. And well, they had the warehouse too for all their stores. So like all the shipments, like pallets and pallets of shoes and clothes would come in.
Yeah.
All of our staff would be tagging them, putting the clothes tags on them, like $8.99, $10.99, all that crap. And then they would box those up and disperse them to the store. And then we'd have a driver go around to all the stores around the valley and disperse all that stuff.
Drop it all off, yeah.
But the online store was separate. We had a separate warehouse, so like on the same block, like a couple doors down. The online store was its own thing. We had our own inventory, so everything that there was specifically on our online store.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And back then, like building a website wasn't easy like it is now, where you have like Squarespace and Wix and all that.
No, we had a guy in house that was like a web designer that would constantly be like updating things, and like, he was literally an actual in-house web designer. Now they're just like, everything's pretty much automated. It's like I'm sure they can make it, and then it's just like, all right, let's set it.
Pretty crazy to think about how much shit has changed even just since then. All right, so then after Industrial, I'm guessing Cornish.
Yeah, shortly after. Oh, actually, no. So Industrial was next. After Industrial, during Industrial, I got my first job at a pizza shop. So I started working at Hungry Howie's on the side. Work Industrial in the morning, hustle pizzas at night.
Nice.
And I did that for I think Howie's for. It wasn't the longest time. I think it was like 6 months or something, maybe a year. I think it's like 6 months to a year. And then I moved on to, I worked at Venezia's.
Oh, okay. Huh. I didn't
Yeah.
know you worked at Venezia's.
Worked at
That's cool.
Venezia's, and I worked
legendary pizza spot
at
here in Arizona.
Venezia's. Literally the best pizza in Arizona, hands down. Love it. It was back when they were small. It was like this little like tiny before they expanded.
Sick.
Worked there. Same thing. Worked at night, and so yeah. Again,
You were hustling. So
Yeah.
like a 9 to 5 in industrial, and then a 5 to 10 at like Venezia's.
Yeah.
And were you living in that house in Tempe, that small little studio at this point?
No,
Or
at
still
that
living
point
at home?
we bounced around. So at first house, we lived at. Well, when I first got out of high school, I lived with my sister. Next year after that, when her lease was up, Sam Burrows moved in. Sam was like my first actual roommate.
Yeah.
Then Sam and then Sam actually went to Sam, Chadwick. There's a couple of people. Tyler, another friend, Tyler, our other friend, Matt. And then, so there were 5 people living in this house on Broadway. It's called the Broadway house. It was like literally faced Broadway.
Yeah.
And then Brandon ended up moving into our hallway. There was this like little nook in our hallway, and he set up
I've
shop.
heard about this.
And, like,
Yeah.
put up curtains, and he lived in that spot.
That's how a video gets done. All the boys live together.
Yeah,
and
when
you
you have
go
a
fucking
BMX
ride.
house and like, you know, filmers there, all the writers are there. I mean, that's like really like the epitome of like the I Got Work too. That's like where everything was filmed.
Yeah, that's the recipe.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then after that, after Venezia's, it was then on to, I think Pasty came shortly after that. Started in Pasty in 2010.
Is this when it was a hallway, or had they expanded a
It was
little
a hallway.
bit? That's so crazy, dude. And now they
When
got spots all over the place.
Sam's brother found Pasty. He was the first one to find Pasty, and he introduced it to us. He's like, "You got to check out this spot." And we used to go down there when it was literally just this. It was Dean back there just working. You know, there'd be like
Just
three
one dude.
people,
Yeah.
and they would make it to order. What do you want? A pilgrim, okay. They like would literally assemble it,
Wow.
throw it in the oven.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it was just the food is amazing. The
What is a
atmosphere.
pasty for people?
Oh,
listening?
so a Cornish pasty is it's essentially like a it's a handheld. Well, I'll say it like so. Dean, the owner, doesn't like to call it like this, but it's essentially like it's a gourmet hot pocket.
Yep.
But how I would explain to my customers was it's like a handheld pot pie. It's like an entire meal wrapped up in light flaky pastry, similar looking to a calzone or like an empanada.
Yeah.
It's got the little crimps.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's an entire meal. It's like they weigh a pound, so it's like it's a gut buster. It'll fill you up.
Yeah.
I worked there because Sam had worked there, and I've been wanting to work there. I think Frank Parks worked there as well.
Shout out Frank.
Shout out Frank. Casey Badger worked there. Like the homies, like were getting
All
jobs
the
there.
cool kids were working at
And I'm like,
Cornish.
dude, I want to work there too. This place is cool. And they're like, sorry, we only have like 5 people, and we don't need any more people.
Yeah.
But it was actually Sam had gotten a job working for Stolen, and he was going to be moving.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you want to take my spot? Essentially, I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So that's how I got into working at Passy, was taking over Sam's position. And I just started working there, and I ended up working there for 11 and a half years.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I started the little mini, tiny hole in the wall. You can barely walk past anybody, to then expanding once, expanding again, to opening up multiple locations all around the valley. It's
then
really grown.
Going statewide or to Vegas, and I know there's some on the East Coast.
Yeah, there's
too.
2 in Vegas. There's like 1 in Boston.
So crazy.
Yeah.
I took Jessica there on her last night in town Tuesday, and she was talking mad shit, just like she knows about pasties in general, and she's like, I make batter pasties. And then I took her there, and she was like, holy shit, this is the best place ever. Yeah.
They're no joke. Yeah,
it was the first time I've had the OG one. I've never had the
Augie.
The Augie.
The Augie's
And I was like, oh wow, this is the whole restaurant right here.
that gravy is what makes it. It's a red wine gravy. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, I was working there. I started to just work in the kitchen. I became a kitchen manager, became an assistant manager, a GM, to a bartender, to I did all the things. So I just stuck around for a long time until
I remember you settled into bartending. You found like the managing was too stressful or didn't pay enough, and then
Yeah, managing was
bartending
stressful.
is the move.
Bartending, you make really good money. Your hours are way less. There's like you clock out and you're done.
Yeah.
You don't like have to deal with employees and the schedule and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Which like I'm not the best person at that stuff of like actual like managerial tasks as far as like planning things out and scheduling and like typing things in.
Yeah.
And so like just doing the work, like being the bartender, you know, I luckily fell into that position as well. They opened up a new location in Phoenix, and the two bartenders were going over to the new, like, oh, we want to go to the new Phoenix store. I'm like, sweet, can I have your bar shifts? And
Yeah.
like, okay, sure. And I got those bar shifts, and that's the position that really like started to open me up as a person.
Because you had to talk to customers.
I had to talk to people.
Yeah.
Because people might not. Well, you probably do know if you've met me. I'm not a talker.
Yeah.
Nor do I talk like a lot. Like we could drive to a skate park right now, and I could say not one word the entire time.
Yeah.
It'd be fine.
Do you have an inner monologue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just learned that some people don't.
I've heard that too. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's impossible.
That
How?
seems fucking insane to
Yeah.
me. Just like.
So yeah, the bar shift, yeah, the working there, it really opened me up, and I was like, you know, interacting with people and conversating with people. I was like, oh my God, this is like a whole new world I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I was always so quiet and so timid. And
Little Eric comes out of his shell.
yeah, I came out of my shell then, and
Yeah, you have always been just like a kind of go with the flow, and whenever it comes to like, all right, what spot do we want to ride? You never were like,
I never had
want to go
anything
here.
planned
Yeah.
out. Never. You'd hated me for that. You're like, where are we going? I'm like, I don't know. You're like, we're not going anywhere until you give me a spot.
Do you remember me saying that?
I'm pretty
Did I
sure
say
you did that. I'm pretty sure you like.
I remember the fun part of it being like, all right, I bet Eric could do this here. I'm going to take him here and see if he'll do it, and paint a picture with your talent on. Like,
yeah, I can't. I've never been the person that's like, let's plan out what tricks I want to do. Let's like, I have this list of things. There were times where they were like that, but it was mainly like, I just like to ad lib. I like to just like ride around, or we go to a spot, and then that's like what sparks my creativity.
Right. Yeah.
I can't pre-plan
And there's
it.
nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Everybody has their own like style of doing shit. I am the opposite though. I want to plan it and go, and I think, do you remember a half cab invert or half cab table into the bell banks? I'm pretty sure that I had that like planned for you.
Yeah,
when I
you
took
did.
to the bell
Yeah, you
banks.
said, oh, you got to do this here. I'm like, oh, okay.
Love it, dude.
There's quite a few tricks that have been done based off of other people's suggestions for sure.
Yeah.
Again, because I don't always come up with my tricks. I'm a very just like in the moment ad lib,
Yeah.
kind of like depends on the day. I might think of something new that I never thought of. I don't sit at home and like dream of tricks.
You know who else was like that is Matt Ray. Matt Ray is so talented, but he like didn't have like an eye, and then he came out for the Skeleton Crew video, and I just like, if I feel like a BMX coach sometimes, you know, like, all right, here's the spot, and here's what you should do, and blah blah blah. That's fun.
You pushed him. I remember you specifically pushing him. Like, I know that you're this talented. You need to try this.
Yeah, let's
And he
get
was
a
like
5 bar down the.
Yeah,
free
he was
block.
like, and I think he would question it a little bit, be like, no, dude, you got this. And like I think you opened it because Matt was a park guy, right?
Yeah, he was a park guy.
And
for sure.
you changed him into street.
I think he wanted to be. He was like becoming street, but yeah. Essentially,
I think
I filmed his first real street part.
Yeah,
basically.
I think you kind of like pushed him, and that was really cool to see.
Stoked on that.
Yeah.
And stoked on the shit that we did too. You know, it's crazy. The amount of filming that I've spent more hours behind the camera pointing at you than probably you're up there of like the amount of people or amount of time that I've spent filming people, which is wild.
I don't doubt it.
And you were one of my biggest influences. Let's go back to like, I guess earlier days. Like I mentioned the stages of Eric, and one of those stages was chainless and sprocketless. What the hell was that? And
That was in the I Got Work One days. That was when free coasters had like kind of just come out as a thing where people were using them. And Federal, I think, was the first one to come out. Was just the Federal free coaster, and it was like
I remember
$200, and I'm like, what? $200? And I was like, I can't afford that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna I want to just test it out. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take off my chain. I'm gonna take off my sprocket, and I'm just gonna see how it goes. Because I was already brakeless, and
it's essentially
it's like this. I'm like, oh, I'll just try it out. And so I did that for I think 6 months. I was literally pushing everywhere, and that was actually a style not really a style, but it's a thing like Def Paul was doing
Yeah,
that.
he was doing that too.
Yeah, he was
And
like
he would do the swerve like the vroom,
yeah.
vroom, vroom.
And I think it
gets
might
good.
have even been like the Bruce Krisman, Ian Schwartz,
Swervy type style. Is that what you're talking about?
no, just the free coaster. I think like maybe that's like that era was like just coming out,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
when I'm like, I wanted
For
this free
sure.
coaster. So, yeah, I just took it off just because I was cheap and I didn't want to pay for a free coaster. So
There's
I
a
just,
clip that's in my mind of you, like it's in your I got work part, and you're just like literally pushing like a scooter towards the long brick staircase
Yeah, in
at
Flagstaff.
ASU. No, ASU.
oh, that clip, yeah.
just push, and then 360.
We
down a
filmed
set.
we
Yeah.
filmed it, and then Chad was like, "Go back and I want to film you like B-roll of you pushing." So, yeah, that was there was a short amount of time where I did that, and actually my cranks would spin so much because there's nothing to hold it back.
Yeah.
So I had to take out my bottom bracket and put a grip flange over the spacer,
Huh.
over the
stop it
spindle,
from-
so there would be a little bit of drag.
Yeah.
So yeah, I cut out a grip flange and put it in my bottom bracket, and so like there's a little bit of drag, so they wouldn't like
Interesting.
spin so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. What was like because
And-
there's a total difference between what I did on a free coaster with using pedal pressure and just like the free coasting, because you learned how to like fakie manual into and using momentum into a
Mhm.
540 cab,
Mhm.
which I still can't fathom, can't wrap my head around that shit. It's so weird, but
It's all just body weight. It's like positioning.
yeah,
So,
that's what I mean. Let's see, I don't know what, and then fuck, where do you go from there? What I remember you rocking bandanas, chainless, sprocketless.
yeah, I think that was again, this was like early 2000s. This is when the kind of like scene, emo, indie kind of
Tight
like
jeans.
tight jean, like girl jeans.
Yeah.
Everyone was buying girl jeans. You go to the thrift store and buy Sevens.
Mhm.
Seven is a brand. It's like a nice jean that the girls would wear.
I thought it was a size.
And no, yeah, Sevens.
I was like, I think I'm too big for sevens, dude.
And yeah, everyone was wearing, and like you'd have like bell, because they were fucking girl pants, so you like literally have like bell bottoms and
Yeah.
shit. But and some guys would cut them and sew them back up so they'd be tapered. But that was that kind of like that scene where I had like a studded belt, had like
the chains
I-
hanging off the belt, or the keys hanging off the belt.
the key. I still to this day do that. And that's where that came from. Honestly, the carabiner on the belt loop. Also what was I gonna say? Oh, that right out of high school, I pierced my lip, so that was like super cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm on my own. I could do whatever I want. And I again, me being a cheap ass, I pierced my own lip with a
Nice.
sewing needle.
Wow. I don't makes sense to me knowing you because
Yeah.
you're frugal. But
I was like, I forget. It was like $50 or something. I'm like, I'm not spending 50. I can just do this shit myself.
nice.
And I got just like a sewing needle, and just, oh my god, it was the first. There's like 2 layers of your skin. Like this part is like softer, but
Yeah.
this inside is super thick, and I could not get it through the second part.
Yeah.
So it finally popped through, and then the hardest part wasn't even that. It was getting the ring, because this microscopic hole.
Yeah. Now you got
Now I have to
force this
shove
big
this
old ring
huge
in it.
ass
Yeah.
ring in it, and so like my lip was all fat and bruised because I literally just like jammed it in there, and everyone was making fun of me. But that's my
Who's laughing now? I
yeah.
saved $50.
that's my cool kid pierced lip scene.
Do you
I
have any
wasn't seeing
tattoos? Did you ever get?
I don't have zero tattoos. No.
Zero tattoos.
None.
But you did have a lip ring, so
I
that
did
counts
have,
for
that was the
something.
only thing I had. Yeah.
And you got 2 different. What's it called? Your eye thing? You got
Heterochromia.
heterochromia.
Yeah.
That's dope. I'm a homochromia.
Yeah.
I'm a homo.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Heterochromia. I have one blue and one hazel eye.
Why no tattoos?
I would say it has to go back to the frugalness. I'm not spending money on a tattoo.
That's fair.
And also being the indecisive person and not knowing what I want for the rest of my life. Like, if I make this decision, it's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I could never make a decision. And then I got to the point where I was old, not old, but I was like, well, I'm not young anymore. Like, if I made it this long, why do I need one?
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
So I just never got a tattoo. So
Yeah, because then you get caught. You're either, because I have like one, and I'm like, I'm in between. I need to go or, you know.
Just stay where you're at.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go forth and get some more tattoos.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Tattoos. Aaron Maxwell is out. I just talked to him recently, so he's going to do light works on this leg.
Oh, shit.
Mediocre on this leg, light works on
Ooh,
this
I like
leg.
that.
Just like a nighttime desert scene or some shit. Yeah, that'll be cool.
That's cool. That's a cool idea.
Um,
So after the free coaster, yeah, that's when I started free coastering. And I think that's when around the time I met you.
Free coaster buddies.
Yeah, and then went into GT, went into Stranger, went into Shadow, and then Drew Hostleton was riding for Volume.
Yep.
And he recommended me. Castillo hit me up and was like, you know, it would be dope if you'd want to ride with us. Like, I know you're with Stranger. I'm not trying to like poach or anything, but just like, you know, just curious. And I thought about it, and I decided to go with Volume. I just liked I think what they were doing at the time. I think Stranger was cool to me at first, but then it was a little bit like too much into like the hippie druggy, like the kind of like the trippy stuff, and like the psychedelic stuff, and that like wasn't necessarily like me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I loved everything that they were doing, but I think there were also some issues with like getting parts and stuff like
shit
that.
just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So it got picked up by Volume. That was super dope. Shout out to Hostleton. You're probably on top of an ice glacier in Alaska right now.
Guarantee he's not listening to these.
No. Drew Hostleton is the man, and
we love Drew.
Yeah.
He's right over there. Picture.
That's the intro.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's the same day.
Yeah.
It's when we did that. We bonked tires. We did the 180.
The little kiss.
Yeah. It got picked up by Volume. Went on a trip with them up to up the coast, up Cali.
Was that your first BMX trip? Because that would be one of my questions. Is what was the first?
My first
BMX
actual BMX trip
like from a sponsor paid for. Type shit.
I think it was Shadow Denver.
Nice.
The Denver Omelets.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was dope. That was a good trip. That was me, Ben Huckey, and Simone, baby Simone. That's when I think I first met Simone. Maybe I met him in Vegas for Interbike.
Yeah,
I think. And then shortly after that, we went to Denver, and that trip was awesome.
Man, Interbike, dude. Just those memories of like actually the whole industry coming together in person for like a whatever it is seminar or what's that shit even called? You know, the genre of a meeting or anyway.
Convention.
A convention. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and just
the world's largest bike convention.
Me, you, Joey Mata, like going there one year with Joey Mata and like walking around the booths and like showing everybody Joey's video, and then he gets sponsored by Sputnik, and it was just it's the coolest feeling.
Interbike was the thing. Like because we we're in Phoenix and it's only 4 hours away. Every year we would go.
Yeah.
Ever since
who's a notable person that you met from Interbike that you were like, holy shit?
Like I was starstruck by?
Yeah, mine was Chad Shackelford. I was like, you're Chad Shackelford?
Probably Van Homan.
Hell yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that's obviously. It's like, holy shit. There were a couple others. I don't remember that like specifically, but you know, like your first time at Interbike and there's all these pros and you're like, oh my God, there's like there's Taj, there's Corey Martinez, there's like all these fucking.
There's Nathan Williams. He's right over there.
Yeah. And you know, there's Gary Young, and here's this. There's Garrett Reynolds. Like, oh my God, and it was just such a fun time to just go, and everyone piles in the car, and we all drive up to Vegas for the weekend. Yeah. And Vegas has really good spots. Mainly skate parks. We'd only like road skate. We never rode street in Vegas. But I think those maybe. Well, I think it was like the skate park days as well.
And the crew of the homies just loved. You guys all love skate parks
because it's a place where we can all get together and we can all have fun. Yeah. But yeah, going to Vegas, super fun. We'd do that every year, and we would always sneak in. One year
because it wasn't cheap, right? How much was it to get a ticket to get in?
I never paid to get in. You had to work at a bike shop. You had to have credentials. You couldn't just buy your way in.
Yeah.
You had to work at a bike shop. Like this was like business only. This isn't like, hey, everyone come hang out. It was literally like shops get together, manufacturers get together, and so it's a business conference. This wasn't some like
Yeah.
like Texas Toast or something, like an
Right.
event where people go hang out.
You got to have a lanyard to get in.
Yeah. And so one time, I think it was Dustin and I, we were just walking towards the convention and we saw someone go in, like, oh, maybe like, let's just follow them. Like maybe they know like a quicker route so we didn't have to walk all the way around. We start going and we're like down in the fucking basement. We're like, where the fuck are we? Oh my God. Like, and then we saw some people coming out of these stairs and we're like, oh, is it up there? And we walk out, open the door, and we're just like smack dab in the middle of the entire convention. We're like, what? Like this, you could just walk into this place.
Yeah.
And so from then on, we would always we just called it the secret passageway. We would always just go to Vegas, get the cheapest hotel room we could find, and then just always take that same like route. We'd go underneath in the shipping and receiving area up through these stairs and just like smack dab in the middle of the convention.
Hustle. Frugality knows no limits.
Yes. Well, not even frugality. Again, you could not get in.
What I remember GT gave me a pass, and that felt really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forget what the title of it said. Oh, it was Pacific Cycles. That's the company that owns GT. They got
nice.
corporate
Yeah.
pass. But what was the cheapest hotel? Circus?
It was
I
like
remember
Motel.
staying
We always said
Circus
it's like the
Circus.
Motel 6 that was like across the street from the MGM.
How much was it?
Back then,
50
I don't
bucks
know.
a month? Or 50, wow, month? 50 bucks a night?
Probably back then, I think it was probably like 30, 50,
Dude, you could do a lot for like a
30
2
to
or
50
3 day
bucks a
trip
night. And we
with $200.
we
You're
would,
chilling.
the room's maxed out. Like everyone's,
Yeah.
all the beds are full. There's like 5 dudes sleeping on the ground. But there was a Vegas scene out there as well. We would go hang out and stay at their house.
Yeah.
Like Paul Peel and I don't think we stayed with Mills, but we hung out with Mills a lot. There's a whole.
What was Mills like back then?
Mills was awesome.
Because I know he's been through the ringer, and now
Yeah.
he's back, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. No, he was. I think he's the same as he is now. I mean, I can't remember exactly how he was,
Yeah.
like, or even how he is now, like how the difference of that is. But no, he was always like a super chill guy, and he was like really unique riding.
Yeah. Backflip to manual to nowhere 180. I just saw that clip again the other day on a spine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, going to Vegas, hanging out with all those dudes, Interbike, and just like being around a community of people was like
Huge.
And I think that's like what's missing these days. I just feel like that doesn't. Maybe it's because I'm out of it a little bit, but I feel like there isn't that huge gathering as much anymore.
Yeah, like at least officially. But like I just saw the video from the jam that Clausen did in Vegas. That was really cool. Like they made a whole bunch. Did you see that? The video?
Mm-hmm.
That was dope.
Yeah.
And just shit like that needs to happen more often.
Yeah, more jams, more get-togethers. Like, and I think there's a resurgence coming. I think we're seeing more of that in the last couple of years.
And it's also because we're getting older, so we're not young and like trying to go to every single event. You know?
Yeah, there's probably.
I think
jams.
there's a lot.
There's probably a
going
jam
on, yeah.
every other weekend. I just don't even know about it.
I know Unity out here is doing a bunch of stuff that I haven't been to, but I'm glad that they're actually doing stuff. That's cool. Who else out here is doing shit? Like hosting events. What was the latest?
I just know Unity.
Oh, the Skunk Bros are killing it. They did a Smoker Day memorial.
Yeah, they've been having some get-togethers, barbecues at the Wedge, stuff like that. Yeah.
Just good wholesome shit, you know.
It's what really brings everyone together, and something that we all have in common and can relate to and just have fun. And
it's kind of weird how these little kid bikes gives you a family around the entire world.
Oh, instantly.
So
I mean, I could go. You could drop me in any city, and I could just go to a skate park and like have a friend.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I'm in town. I'm from Arizona. Like, okay, well, like this is my friend group. This is what we're doing. Like, you're instantly just like, acclimated to the scene. It's really cool. I noticed that like even going when we would travel to Europe and stuff like that, like how many people you'd meet, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small niche that's like, oh, you do it too?
Yeah.
Instantly friends. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty
And
dope.
the barrier to entry to like learning tricks is pretty high. So like if you're hanging out with somebody who can, do a bunny hop 360, you know that they've put hours and hours and into this thing. So you have that in common, which is interesting. But speaking of community and homies coming through and your dad gifting you a bike when you were young, remember, so my bike got stolen 2 years ago now, I think, or a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Will you tell that story?
Yeah, how did you got stolen out of your car, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm a dummy and I kept it in my backyard.
Yeah,
here.
it's like off the side and some tweaker
which
probably took
honestly is a pretty safe spot, but it's not. So the one time that I leave it out there,
Yeah.
it gets swooped.
Yeah, and so I made a post. I'm like, hey, Bobby got his bike stolen, and this guy, shit, what's
Michael Jimenez.
Michael, yeah, because I was like comment donkey.
Comment donkey.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's like I know people's Instagram names before
Yeah.
I remember their actual name. He's like, hey, I got this. I have an extra bike, like, and I'm actually coming through Arizona. Like, I could piece this bike together and bring it down. I'm like, dude, that would be fucking amazing.
My birthday was coming up.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, this is gonna be so cool. And we met up at Chandler Bike Park, and he's like, dude, here it is, and it was a complete bike. And I was like, oh my god, this is, dude,
So sick.
thank you so much. Like,
Yeah.
such a generous person to just like offer up this bike.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That was crazy.
Yeah. And then it was a day or two after my birthday or on my birthday, and you knocked on my door without me really knowing, and then opened the door, and it was like your dad's trick of, there's something out here.
Oh yeah.
there's something out here for you. And over by where my old bike used to be.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
there's a brand
I
new
did the
bike.
same move. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Like father, like son.
Yeah.
You did the move.
Hey, come out here. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you doing here
Is
for?
this for me? I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Like, I got you a bike. He's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah.
It's a pretty dope bike, and it's
Yeah.
held up pretty well.
Yeah. Pretty sweet.
So let's see. Of all the video parts that you filmed, what's your favorite?
Favorite video part. I feel like I really liked Volume 2.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
Mastroni.
Because it was like a mixtape of several people, but so I had like a mixed part in The Finer Things.
Right, with Josh.
With Josh.
Yeah.
But so this was like kind of like my first like standalone part with them.
Yeah.
And I really liked, that was like my newest clips, I think. I don't know. I really like that part a lot. Shadow, I put a ton of work into that. That was years of work. What could go wrong? I really liked a few of the clips in there. I think the bangers, one of the ones I was definitely most hyped on. The ice up to ice down.
Ice up to ice down, yeah.
On the wedge rail.
Yep.
Ooh,
that's a good clip.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
Not long, actually. Surprisingly, it didn't take too long. Probably like maybe like an hour at the most.
Pretty good.
I think like of like getting there, like I don't think I only tried it like maybe like 20 times or something like that.
That's a crazy one, because like looping out at the top and you just sack yourself on the rail. Like, I'm traumatized by that from breaking my tailbone doing that on an ice pick on the rail.
I don't know if I did loop out. I probably did at some point, but I feel like I've done so many manuals in my life, and I know the loop out point, and so like I know what's gonna happen. I can just like eject really quick and put my foot on the rail or something like that, so I wouldn't like get credit carded.
It's a hell of a trick. I've only seen maybe a handful of people do it besides you, and not even that many. Like, that's doing it on a bank on your tire is hard enough, and then to like make that balance point even smaller and do it on a peg going up, and that's pretty substantial, pretty dope.
I still think I really love the intro to, or Welcome to Shadow. It's probably still one of my favorites too.
Just a video as a whole.
Yeah, I just the writing in that, the fakey table. It's like the first fakey table I ever did.
Down a 7 stair or 6 stair.
And I don't know if I've like really even done like a better one than that.
Yeah. Well, there's still time for mediocre too.
We'll get another one in the books.
Yeah. I think we can get another fakey table in the books. It's just a matter of deciding to
get
go
one
there
in
and
there.
film.
Yeah.
There's 2 tapes over there that I need to capture still, and like maybe 2 that are still full that I need to log.
Dope.
It's on the back burner, but whatever. Of all the tricks that you've done, you mentioned the ice up to ice back down and the fakey table. What's your standout like trick, single clip that you're most proud of throughout your career?
It was a clip that Chadwick filmed, and it never went anywhere because it was right when it was after.
Nobody has seen it.
No, it's come out. I posted it.
Okay.
But it was meant to just kind of like stack on some clips, start stacking clips, and it just never got used. And it got to the point where like passed beyond the point where like I was still like writing avidly.
Yeah.
And I asked Chadwick for to send those over. He's like, yeah, I still got them. And it was at the we called it the Bashes Ledge. It's now like capped as a huge like
Yeah.
It's the 180 Smith half cab manual 360 switch Smith to 180 out.
Yeah. That's a pretty good
I
one.
was stoked on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know at the time because like shortly after that, Alex Donachie
Came around and started doing all that crazy
did one,
shit too.
and
Yeah.
I think Smiley did one shortly after that.
You might have been the first.
Or maybe they posted it and that's what triggered me to go back and find the clip or something like that. But I'm not going to say that I was the first one to do it, but I definitely know like in my head, at the time, I never saw anyone do that.
I'm going to say you're the first one to do it. I'm sitting next to a freaking legend, dude.
I was really surprised that I pulled it off. I was not expecting it. I think I was just doing 180 Smith something.
You just start spinning and then whatever
and
happens,
then I just add more stuff to it.
Yeah.
And Mark Burnett was there and he freaked out.
That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it was good.
He doesn't freak out over much, you know. Mark Burnett is so good that it's like you got to do something really impressive for Mark to
I guess
freak
that's
out.
yeah. He freaked out. Like
He's like, what the fuck?
He's like, he was freaking out.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most intricate, like, good. I like that trick a lot.
It's a hell of a trick. I miss that ledge because I used to film there a lot too. Because I liked how it ended in a bank, and so I would do feeble to hang 5 and then land in the bank.
That was our stomping grounds. We rode the Bashes Ledge growing up, and
such a good ledge.
It was, like he can grind the Bashes Ledge. Damn,
that's tall.
That was like back then. Like damn, like he smithed the Bashes Ledge.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Eric's got hops.
No.
How'd you get so good at bunny hopping?
Tyson was the one who had the hops back then. He was smithing the ledge before anybody else. And yeah, that whole area is where I grew up.
Yeah. So now we're on GT. What happened with Volume? Did you quit for a while and then
what happened was after the videos came out of Finer Things, What Could Go Wrong, I was turning 30 and I'm like, can't do this for the rest of my life. Like I can't be a professional rider. Like something I'm gonna get hurt. I don't know. I was just like start thinking about my career. I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah, like do you have health insurance from your sponsors and how much are you making?
Yeah, so that's when I started to like make like a conscious decision. Like what can I do outside of BMX? And I got this idea of like doing photography. And I talked to our good friend Lear Miller.
Because he was killing it on wedding photography, right?
Weddings, bike stuff, like because he's into mountain bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
I asked him, what a good camera was. He's like, dude, this new Sony A6000 just came out. It's a perfect like point and shoot camera. Like it's like it's not like a beginner, but it's like an intermediate. It's like a perfect one for you to start out on. It's a mirrorless camera, which is like a new thing
back then.
Yeah, like mirrorless. Wow. He's like, yeah, like it's budget like friendly. Like you should just get it and start off with that. I highly recommend it. So I dropped in. I bought the camera and lenses and stuff like that, and I just went out and started shooting photos of all my friends who were sponsored riders.
Yeah.
And the first trip we went on was actually for the premiere of What Could Go Wrong in New York. And I was just taking pictures along the way, and we're riding up the Williamsburg Bridge. And I just see, we're about to go in, I just see like the depth of field of like how long the bridge was. And I'm like, Simone, could you do like a hop kickflip or something? Or like just something like steezy. And he's like, yeah, I'll just hop. I'm like, what, you're not going to do a trick? He's like, no, I'm just going to hop. I'm like, okay, fine. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, I want you to do a trick. But then he did. I just underestimated how steezy Simone is.
Yeah.
And like just the simplest hop, but like he made it look so fucking good. And I snapped the photo, and that was the first photo one of the first photos that I took, and then it got published in Ride.
Nice.
It got the end, like the ender or whatever that's called, like the last frame or something like that.
Sick.
I think I submitted it to Zielinski, to Jeff Z.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, this is awesome. I'll see what I can do or something. Like I don't know if he's like, yeah.
Did they pay for photos in the yeah, that they must have, right? When magazines were still going, people you would sell photos.
I think
to
so.
them.
I think they might have.
Like, what was the first money you made? Because you say you drop in and you buy a 6000 and all the kit. How long until you made your money back? With the camera, you know what I mean?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because that's a hardish thing to make happen, is get paid with the shooting photos.
Yeah, it's hard to make that instant return, because it's like you drop that money and it's like you're not going to see that however much money it is right away.
Yeah,
it's an investment, and it's something that is going to further your skill set in your career later on. If I never bought that camera back then, I wouldn't be where I'm at today with my current job.
Yep.
And so me dropping in on that and just taking like a shot in the dark and just like, I'm just going to try this out.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate enough to, again, be around sponsored riders and to know people in the industry and know Jeff Z.
Yeah.
And people who worked for a ride, and say, hey, what do you think of this photo? And people said I had like a naturally good eye, like straight from, and that was like the feedback I got right away. I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe I can do this.
Because you're a perfectionist and you have OCD, and it's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I'm a very visual person. So me watching shows, TVs, like I guess I can see things visually and just like, oh, this looks good.
Yeah, your composition is amazing.
So
you have a good eye for lighting.
So that kind of like catapulted my photography. And seeing my photo being published is like, holy shit, like this is possible. Like this is cool. Like people like my stuff. So I started doing more with it. I started to work with Shadow. I actually went on a trip. We went to California as like a photographer.
Nice.
I don't know if I did that with Volume or not.
Was it like a writer / photographer type deal?
Yeah, it was both, but I was mainly photographer. And it was with Simone, LaShawn, Jono, I think, was there. And then
Sick.
Johnny Ice.
Is this when
Chadwick?
Is this when the infamous session on the drop with the palm tree where Jono Austin Augie, I think, 180 did.
It wasn't that trip. This was the trip we went to the high school with the bank that Matt Ray did the cab 7 off of.
Oh yeah.
And he did the cab 5 bar.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy.
Yeah.
Wild. And that just started my photography career, and I started shooting I got a couple photos in magazines. I got the cover of like the hang tag of the complete bikes for Sabrosa. It was LaShawn doing an ice to bar at that flat rail behind the ASU flour mill. So every single complete bike for
flour mill, what? The one across like a rock gap that I never went to?
Yeah.
No?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I never went to that spot. I never saw it. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, that was on every single hang tag, like every complete bike. So if you went to Gordy's and they had like
you see Eric's
five Sabrosas, cool. Like my photos on all of them. I'm like, damn, this is pretty cool. Got a couple posters, my photos on a Sunday shirt.
Yeah. The Brett Silva one?
The Brett Silva one, the toboggan. And
That's
that was like, they were in town, they were just riding around, and I just like met up with them, and I brought my camera, and
all happenstance. He's pretty sure I was there.
I can't remember if he filmed that, or if, I think I just saw through like the little brick. There's like an opening in this like kind of like doorway.
Just a natural
and I think I told him like
frame,
because he's just toboggan master. He can like toboggan your face off. So I was like, could you toboggan over this? He's like, okay, sure. And just like the way it looked, and it came out super dope. And I just sent it to Sunday, and I'm like,
it's one of the best photos ever. It's awesome.
Yeah, like the architecture and the lines and all that stuff. Like I was like, damn.
I feel like I was living with you, and I got to see you behind the scenes, looking at whether it should be black and white or in color. And I can't remember. I think I was living with you when you shot that. Anyway,
I sent it to Sunday with because like the ledge or like the wall was like
orange,
a purple.
Oh, purple. Okay.
And like the sun was hitting where he was at was like kind of orange. So I'm like, oh, Phoenix Suns. I'm like, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But purple and orange are ugly.
I disagree.
Blue and orange are good
and
so they literally changed the color to blue.
Smart.
And I was like, damn, okay. I was like, at first I was like, wait, they changed, like that's not what I sent them. And then I'm like, oh, actually, this is fucking amazing.
It's way better. Yeah.
I don't know, whoever at Sunday, maybe it was Walter,
Yeah.
I don't know if Walter's
got a good eye.
Yeah, or something.
Well, that's like a common theme in cinema and photography is that actually it's almost like overblown out at this point, but the blue orange contrast, the color contrast they call it, like you look at the primary colors and then whatever's opposite, you already know.
Well, skin tones are naturally an orangish hue, whether it's lighter or darker, it's in like the orange range, so naturally blue contrasting behind you. That's why the blue behind you on your wall, it looks fucking great.
Oh yeah, by the way, he shot the cover for this podcast here.
Yeah.
What do you know? What was the first paid gig outside of
I feel like I
BMX?
had that just pulled up recently. First gig outside of what was it?
I remember there was a lot of talking about this. Like, all right, what you and Giselle, like, what are we gonna do for photography? Are we gonna be wedding photographers? Or are we gonna do brand photography?
I did the photography thing like that, and then when I was working at Pasty, I was thinking about I was originally thinking about opening up my own location, and because like, I could do that.
Your own Pasty location.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I was like, fuck that. That's too stressful.
That's a lot.
Owning a rrestaurant, that sounds like my worst nightmare. I can't do this. And so that's when I was like, okay, photography, like what can we do with this? And I met my girlfriend at the time. We were, Giselle and I, well, my wife now, but we were dating. Mm-hmm. We would go out on the hikes and stuff like that and take photos of like, scenery and things like that. And
you became a nature.
Yeah, we did like the nature, like kind of travel type
Perfect
of stuff.
Instagram boyfriend.
And it was fun. Like we would go out, post stuff, and I would, knowing how social media works, I would tag the local, like if we were up in Sedona, I would tag like visit Sedona.
Yeah.
Or I would tag like the camera that I was using or the bag that was in the like I was wearing a backpack, and so I would tag that. And so like I knew brand awareness and I knew how to tag those companies in those things. And quite a few of those brands would repost our stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
cool.
interesting.
Like the Sedona place like reposted our photo, and then there's another local company called Keep It Wild. They were all about hiking and traveling, and like they have all the clothes and merch, and we would tag their stuff. We bought their own shirts. We didn't get them for free, but we would wear them in the shots and just tag them in it, and they would repost it. So that's like a way to get recognition as
social media hustle.
Yeah,
because you did kind of. I don't know. I haven't been like following your social media, but I know that there was a period of time where you went from like 10,000 to where you're at now, 25, 30,000, maybe more.
I'm at 20.
Is that, do you think that that's where that came from, or BMX, or
where did the followers come from?
Yeah. How did that's
I think,
could be a goofy question, but it's not. Like, where did your Instagram growth come from primarily, you think?
From writing.
Yeah,
primarily all writers. From just posting videos, posting photos. Again, I really understood brand awareness. So when I was sponsored by Shadow, I would post Shadow related things, or I would post GT things, because I not only knew that I was helping them out, but then they would repost my stuff.
Yeah.
And so when a bigger brand that has way more followers sees my stuff, or like the people following them sees my stuff, like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, so it's just like getting that awareness, like seeing, like getting my name out there and what I can do out there. And so people would see my stuff like, oh, I want to follow this guy too.
What do you say to people who think that your reels are corny?
They definitely are.
Pump up the jam, pump it up.
Yeah, they're 100. So that was when I first got into TikTok last summer, and I was going through this time where I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, this is like before the pace thing, and I was working at the bar for so long, and I'm like, we just got out of the fucking pandemic, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I was like, I kind of want to just like ride again. I think this would be fun. And Giselle's like, you should do it. Like, I know like you understand how it all works. You should just like jump into it. And so I did. And what I did was just like go on TikTok, watch all the stuff that was like trending, and just reiterate that into my own spin.
Yeah.
There would be someone, like, be a really funny viral video of someone playing like basketball, let's say, but it's like, okay, the joke's there, but let me just like turn it into BMX. Yeah. And so that's what I was doing. I was just like configuring like jokes into relating BMX into those as well. It's like trying to bridge the gap from mainstream or like your average Joe to like relate to like something that's bike related.
Yeah, the one I like the most is the Thor one where you like play it in reverse, but you throw your bike and then the bike comes to you. I like that one.
That one took a while to film.
I bet, because you're like, that didn't look right, and then you go down, grab your bike, and bring it back up again, and then throw it.
I had my GoPro shoved in my mouth to film that. And
vertically shut. You
know
what I'm saying?
No. Oh no, maybe no. I don't think it was. I think I had like a mount, like a just like a tripod mount, and I had like the mount in my mouth, and like that was like facing forward. I think it just like cropped in vertically. But that was hard to time. All that stuff, like it doesn't seem, it seems easy, but it's like, it's a whole process. But same thing as like going out and learning a trick or doing a line. Yeah. It takes a long time, and it's the same thing. Especially
if you know what you were trying to accomplish, and you know, like,
so my goal through that whole time, and I still do it sometimes, but definitely back then I felt like there was this gap missing as far as like relatability in BMX, because if you watch someone doing like that trick, the 180 Smith half cab manual 360 Smith 180, if you show that to like your sister, she'd be like,
oh, neat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You didn't know like that, how much time and effort and like went into that.
How intricate.
But then if you're just like riding down the street and you did a bar spin over a puddle and there was like a cool reflection, like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I was like, I feel like there's this, I want to bridge this gap, and I want to get more people aware of BMX and think that BMX is cool again, because even back to what we were saying before with Dave Mira, so unrelatable. How the fuck am I going to air out 20 feet out of this quarter pipe? Yeah. But if this guy's riding down the street doing a little wheelie that like looks cool, or has this like fun, it's like either a comedic skit, or there's like a fun beat to it, or it's like some like weird TikTok-y viral thing. Yeah. It's relatable, and so that's what I was trying to accomplish, is like make BMX more relatable to the average person again, because I feel like BMX like street is so like niched down into this small little category.
It's a niche within a niche within a niche.
That the average person walking down the street, like, what do you do? Yeah. Like, oh, you ride little kids' bikes?
Yeah.
And so that's what my goal was, and I feel like I was starting to.
It's a really cool marketing experiment.
Yeah,
it kind of worked.
I was growing a lot, but then I got the job working with Pace, and that's it put a stop to everything.
No, it didn't. You still push.
I still do it here and there, but I mean, like, it was.
You were going hard. You were doing like daily challenges
like
and
being
shit.
at the bar and like being able to just like work for a few hours and like have the whole rest of my day to like think about, like come up with these ideas and go out and film them and get the angle right and all that stuff. It was time consuming. So when I have this like the full-time job with Pace, because he's
and especially when it's doing the same thing, because you're creating content, you know. So welcome to my world. My job is video. My passion is video. my side and hobby is video, and we do a podcast. Hello, everybody.
So my stuff is corny, but I don't care. I'm not trying to be the coolest street, like the hip, like I'm too cool for you. Like,
that's a good attitude.
I don't care. I don't care about that. I'm just trying to be me and just have fun. I think BMX has been taken way too seriously over all the years. I mean, even the whole rodeo peanut thing with like the
rules.
You can't land in grass.
I think they were joking. They were joking, but yes, people took it serious, and then it got the culture.
I remember we were on there was a volume trip, and I was like, I've never done this before, and I thought it was fucking crazy. I did 180 before a rail and fakie grinded down a rail.
Nice.
I'm like, I fakie grinded a rail, but I when I landed out, I landed in the grass and like half cab in the grass. And I remember at the time Peanut was at its peak, and they were like, you could like, everyone on the team was just like, they weren't like, yeah, they were just like, you could tell they're like, oh, he landed in grass. And I was just like, I don't know.
Is that clip seen the light of day?
Yeah, it's in Finer Things.
Okay.
It made it in the DVD.
Yeah.
But I remember, because that was peak Peanut.
Nobody's stoked because you landed in fucking grass.
Yeah, I was like, but I just fakey grinded down a fucking rail. Like,
yeah.
That's so stupid. I think BMX takes things a little bit too serious. I think it should be fun again. It should be goofy. It's creative. You should be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah. And you are able to do whatever you want.
Yeah, there shouldn't
and
be
you can ignore
rules or
people who are like-
guidelines. I think seeing people who think outside the box and do things differently as always have my respect. I mean, Eric Elstrand, perfect example.
Yeah.
Like, my God.
Man, he does it to the level where it's like, it's not only outside the box, but it's like next level talented outside the box. It's untouchable. He's one of the best of all time.
It's unreal.
Eric Elstrand.
The balance, the precision, like
Yeah.
you can like 360 foot jam a fucking pole. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like,
And
the
you know what never
accuracy.
gets old, but that's out of the box still. Like, even though a bunch of people have done it, is the riding on the milk crate. All the tricks that you can do with a milk crate, like
Yeah.
Tate does, or I'm trying to think of. I just saw a clip of somebody doing it. Trey, I
Yeah.
think Trey just did one.
Trey just did one today. I
Yeah,
saw
where
him
he like
post it.
rode a quarter and then landed on a crate. It's just cool. I forget. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly
just
what
like-
it was, but it's so sick.
There's
Trey's a good example. Of
there's endless
outside the box.
possibilities in BMX, and it's just so cool to see things that were once goofy be really cool. Like riding on a milk crate. What the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
that's lame. But then now it's like, oh, that's fucking. That's
Who's the first person you seen do the milk crate shit? I think I saw Stephen Hamilton fuck around with it back in the day. That is such a weird
I mean, that's honestly
question.
probably been around since like the 80s or something
Yeah,
like
of
that.
course.
But I think Stephen Hamilton did something like that. But yeah, Tate definitely just blew it out of the water. He did so many creative things with that.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, like, that's why I really liked being on Volume, because everyone was so creative. Everyone was such a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like
It was a
me,
good team of
Drew,
weirdos.
Tate, Raban has such a unique style.
Mastroni.
Mastroni has such a unique, weird style.
He's got a resurgence coming back with the last two pieces he put out, which are fucking awesome. Like, I think it's two pieces.
Just
He did.
like the fact that he created spots and like made these like like the amount of time and effort that would take just to go out and find the materials and to build it. And
Yeah, he's a real artist.
Yeah, it's just it's art.
Yep.
It's riding BMX art.
Makes me think of John Mata. Because John Mata is a spot modder, and you saw that post obviously where he like modifies a ditch and opens up a brand new spot. I think he's done that for like most of Arizona's like ditch spots and all the famous spots.
Yeah, it's probably like 80% of every Bondo spot you see is probably because of
He has a joke like the famous super steep bank with the small banks on the side of it, and then you go into a tunnel. Like Westcott tabletopped it. It's a famous skate spot, but John said that if he put a toll booth on it, because he unlocked it, he like cleaned it up and made it a spot. And if he put a toll booth, he'd be a millionaire at this point.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's funny.
That's a good.
But yeah, there's something liberating about stop giving a fuck what people are thinking about what you're doing and just do what you want to do, even if.
And I guess
like,
that's just always
you
been.
can acknowledge it's corny.
I guess that's
even
always
better.
been me, because I got made fun of so much when I first started riding, because I was like, oh, Eric's just dancing around on his back tire,
Yeah.
just like
I've made fun of you so
just
much.
doing, like, doing this and that, and like being goofy. I'm like, I don't know.
There goes the Energizer Bunny. He's spinning around like a tornado.
I just liked having fun and not taking it too seriously. And I've never been the biggest like banger trick type of person.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to be different and stand out and just do my own thing. I had a lot of fun with that.
So to bring this full circle, you're on GT again. How did that happen? And what's the plans? Like, what's going on with that?
So, so after the photography thing, I kind of just like faded away from being sponsored. Like I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't getting anything. I mean, if I asked them for something, like they would hook me up. There's actually a time where my bike got stolen just before my bachelor party, where we went to Woodward.
Damn. Yeah.
And my bike got stolen like 3 or 4, like a month before maybe. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have a bike. And I hit up Castillo and I'm like, yo, like, is it too much to ask? Like, my bike got stolen. Is there any way like I can get like a discount or something? And like, yeah, I'll send you like, frame, fork, and bars or whatever. Like, I'll send you like the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, Castillo's the man. Like, hooked it up. And I think he also understood that like, oh, it's why I needed it, because like my bachelor party. He's like, I think that was maybe like a little wedding gift as well, maybe as well.
That's
so
dope.
And then Shadow hooked me up with all new like
all
parts,
the things that you need.
so I had a brand new bike, and But then, so that was like, I think another like 2 years went by since then. And then I just started to like wanting to get back into riding again. And I think I had a conversation with Z randomly, just talking to him about it. I talked to Albert and I talked to DeMarcus about GT. Like, how do you like it? Like, because Albert was on Volume, was on GT.
Yeah.
No, not Albert. Sorry, DeMarcus was on Volume, went to GT. Tate was on Volume, went to GT. And I just asked him, like, how do you like it? And they're like, we love it. It's great.
Jeff Z's the TM.
Yeah, Jeff Z's, the TM. I liked that they were doing stuff with like, like the mountain bikes and stuff like that. And I saw them like what Ben was doing was like growing the brand. I saw what they were doing. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. Like I just hit up Z. I'm like, hey, would it be cool if I like represented some of the GT stuff again? And he'd be like, oh, dude, that'd be awesome. And so I just, they sent me out some stuff, and that's kind of it just took off from there. I built up my bike, and that's when I again started diving into all the TikTok stuff and just like being like trying to post every single day.
You're a marketing machine for whatever company you're repping. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it did really good. And a lot of people are like, oh, what tires are those? Those blue tires are sick. And like, oh, what frame do you ride? And like Instagram, I feel like people you're friends with people who know BMX.
Yeah.
They already have their own shit. TikTok is like an untapped market. You have these kids who have just started riding who don't like, oh, I rode my bike yesterday and now I saw this. This is cool.
Yeah.
And so that's where I also saw the opportunity to dive into TikTok is like, I want to branch out and reach the masses and try to get kids into riding versus trying to make the people who are already pros and good at riding happy.
Yeah.
I want to get more people into it and experience what I've experienced in my life and the joy and the gratitude, like how fun it is and like all the places you get to travel and all the things. So I was like, I want to reach a broader audience. And so that's why I did the whole TikTok thing.
That's dope.
So many kids were asking me like, what frame do you ride? Like,
what pump did you use for the jam?
Yeah. How do you do this? Or how do you do that? And
I got to look at your TikTok. What are you at?
I think like 21,000.
Sheesh. Good for you, dude. That's awesome.
But I really stopped late. I think I grew that pretty quick. And then it's just been hovering for the longest time because I don't really post that much.
Eric Bahlman. Everybody go follow Eric Bahlman on TikTok.
Eric
Bahlman.
Somehow there's an Eric Bahlman out there. I'm like, you motherfucker.
21.3. Ride bikes, have fun, baby. Pump up the jam. 2 point. You got $3 million ones. That's awesome. Million views. That's great.
Yeah, there's a couple of viral ones. And it was just, again, it's just having fun and just trying to get the public to understand BMX and get kids hyped on it. That's all my purpose is I want to get more kids into it. And being the cool guy, the guy who's so unrelatable, the guy who's like, it's just unrelatable to a 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah. And
so you might think my shit's corny.
But a 13-year-old doesn't. Or even a 13-year-old could, but fuck them. It doesn't matter.
But that's what I was trying to appeal to is like, I just want to get kids hyped on BMX. I want to get kids into BMX. And I want to see this industry grow, not be stagnant.
Yeah,
because there's no growth if you're not getting the kids into it. You're gonna have this shelf life of like the people who are already in it are just gonna be there.
Right. Yeah, that's not gonna keep.
Yeah, and I think that's where there's such a big surge in like the early 2000s was because it was X Games. It was all those like mainstream things are on MTV. Extreme sports were super big, like in the media.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel like
it's not
extreme
there.
sports isn't mainstream anymore. So
it's interesting. I don't know if, what is mainstream? Like, is it because there's no mainstream TV? There's more viewers on Garrett Reynolds' Instagram than there is on ESPN on any given night. Like it's a weird, different.
There's a shift now.
Everybody is their own celebrity, and everybody's in their own little world.
Mm-hmm.
And bubble, but I agree with what you're saying. Like getting more kids into it is pretty dope. That's a cool mission that you got going.
Yeah, That's what my goal was. I think that's something
was still going.
True.
Yeah, just like riding once or twice a week. That's all you need.
Yeah,
the balance.
Yeah, I just want to see it grow. I want to see more kids get into it and just have fun.
Yeah,
and get kids off the fucking playing video games. Get kids out of like, getting into like that was the thing. Like we'd always get kicked out of skate parks by the cops, and we're like, what do you want us to do? Like we could go behind the fucking mall and smoke weed or something, like
spray paint,
but we're out here being productive and being athletic and like being healthy. Why are you so like hating on it so much?
Law is the law.
Yeah. So
I remember that whole ordeal. So there's Arizona skate parks were like ruthlessly anti-bike for a long time. Now it's kind of chilled out, except for a couple of skate parks still don't let bikes in. It's
taken a long time, but yeah, it's getting there.
They finally mellowed out,
and I think it's honestly a generational, because the kids that are skating now grew up with riders in their parks already.
Yeah,
so they already accepted them. Whereas back then it was like a very just like black and white. It's like night and day. I'm a skater, you're a BMXer. We're not supposed to mix.
Yeah. You got any BMX plans for this year?
No plans. You know me, I don't have plans.
Yeah, me neither.
No plans. I love to ride. I would love to do it more. I think I'm getting to the point where I'll be able to like have more time to actually do it. I think I haven't created enough time for myself. I think I've, just haven't been out there doing it. So I would love to create, more stuff. Whether it's parts or it's just Instagram clips, or if it's just riding with other cool people. I love when people come into town and hit me up and go ride. Like that's like Brock did that like a month ago. Yeah, rode with him, super fun. We honestly just talked for the longest time. We like barely rode.
I wish I could have met up with you guys or met up with Brock.
Yeah. Love Brock, super down to earth guy. And I had this like pretty much this similar conversation with him as well about community and getting kids stoked on riding. And I think he really appreciated our conversation, and I think he's trying to do something similar as well. Like he wants to get kids hyped up, and Brock's such like the nicest guy, and he's such a dude, just a good dude. I told him, I'm like, besides Gary Young, you're like probably one of the nicest guys in BMX. Like,
dude, speaking of Gary Young, you saw his 11-minute banger part that just came out. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Video of the year.
He's got to be in his 40s.
He's pushing it. I don't know if he's in his 40s yet, but
I'm 36. I think he's at least 40 years older than me. He's got to be like he's 39 or 40.
I think back to watching Drop the Hammer on Video Google. Like,
oh my god.
And he was killing it back then, but just to see this is just like, whoa. Like,
you don't remember him from San Diego BMX?
Yeah, I don't remember those SD BMX days, the fudger days.
That was back in the forum days.
Yeah. I remember BMX Forum and like Bike Guide or something, but there was so many. There was BMX Board, there was the Come Up Board. Eventually, there was SD BMX, Midwest BMX, SW BMX.
Before social media, there were forums.
Yeah,
and that's where you would post your videos, and people would see your like. That was the first like social media. Like there was a forum, and
100 views on a video on a forum was like, whoa, and then 10 comments like, keep it up, Kanode, and I'm like, this is so cool. Yep.
Yeah, BMX board. My name was Eric Bahlman Sucks.
Nice.
Thanks, Chadwick. Chadwick set that up for me. I'm like, can you set up a thing for me? He's like, yeah, and he just like entered. Yeah, like, God damn it.
Good.
Because back then, like, it was very only so many people could get in, and so like once like he submitted it, I was like, I can't get back in. So I was like, I can't change my name or whatever. But
that's fine. Eric Bahlman sucks anyways.
Yeah. It's like Trey Jones sucks.
So we got to do the questions that I hit everybody with. The Mount Rushmore. Are you prepared? Do you have your all-time Mount Rushmore ready?
Should we go through the questions? Or
yeah, let's do it. I'm going to take a pee break real quick, and then we'll be back with Mount Rushmore.
Okay. I actually have to pee too.
All right, Eric. Who's your Mount Rushmore? Your favorite riders of all time? 4 of them. There's 4 faces on Mount Rushmore.
Well, first it starts off with Rat Boy. Then there's Jason Enns, and then Kevin Porter. KP was a huge one.
Nice. I can see that in your riding.
All 3 of those are basically define my riding and my style. Except for none of them are free coaster riders, but What would the fourth one be? I feel like that's the hardest one because I have the 3 right away, and then the fourth.
Who's it gonna be?
That's hard. I'm stumped.
Rick Moliterno. He was the first free coaster rider. Not really, but
he was one
kinda.
of the innovators of free coasting back then.
I learned that from the Rat Boy episode. He was sitting right there.
Yeah.
Your Mount Rushmore guy was right there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Rat Boy's dope. I feel like it's actually kind of weird. Now thinking back about it, there were a couple of like free coaster riders that like before I even knew what free coasting was Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky was free coaster.
Yep.
There was Paulo Sica was on standard, was a flatlander, but I just loved his style. Like his flat landing style was so unique, and I just loved it. But as far as actual Mount Rushmore, like
It doesn't have to be a free coaster rider, right?
man,
Well, this free coaster we'll talk about on a separate question.
I would say, I don't know. It was literally because I feel like those first 3 was like were the people I looked up to, and I feel like
Rat Boy, Jason Enns, and Kevin Porter.
And I feel like after a KP, that was like when I became my own person, and I feel like that's when I stopped looking up to people and started doing my own stuff. If that makes sense.
So then, Eric Bahlman is your 4th.
No, not me. There's a lot of people that are influential. I think seeing just creative people, I think, is what gets me. So, I mean, honestly, it's not someone I looked up to, but I definitely I really appreciate is like Eric Elstrand's.
Fuck yeah, solid choice. That's a great Mount Rushmore. That's a unique one.
He can do anything and everything, and it's unique, it's creative, it's mind-blowing, and it's just his personality is just like hilarious. I love him. Like,
yeah,
he's a funny dude.
Solid. That's a solid one. Who's the next question was going to be like early free coaster influences, like, because I had just learned that Rick Moliterno, I'm clueless. I learned Rick Moliterno was on a coaster before Rat Boy knew what it was.
Bruce Grisman.
Yeah.
And the Ian Schwartz, like those were I think the 2 biggest of like what started free coasting.
So sick.
In the modern day. I feel like they amplified that riding. People are like, holy shit, you can. I think he like fakeyed up a 3-stair, and people. Oh, he fakey barred up a 3-stair, and people,
he
like,
did.
Freaked out. I mean,
yeah.
To this day,
still
that's
fakey
crazy.
Bar up a 3-stair is pretty crazy.
Even a fakey hop up a 3-stair is kind of crazy in itself.
Mm-hmm. And I remember Ian Schwartz doing a loose full cab down like a 6-stair that was just like going fast and no pedal pressure and just like weird wiggle, just interesting style. It's so good.
Pegless. Like both him and Chrisman were pegless.
Yeah. And Chrisman's style was so unique. He would like purposefully do the Indian Giver style and nollie cabs before they were big, and fakey nollies, and using stairs and ways.
He did like the biggest fakey hop downstairs. He did like I forget, it was like an end of facade or something, like
12 stair or something.
Stair, and people are like, holy shit.
There's definitely a clip out there of Bruce Chrisman doing one of the biggest fakey hops ever.
It's gnarly. Like you could die so easily on something like that.
That's a scary trick. That's probably the scariest thing I've done, is like a fakey hop down at 8 or 9 or whatever that one.
10 stair.
That's a 10 stair in Scottsdale. Dude, that's the scariest trick ever, going backwards down a big set.
Yeah, you gotta, you're committed and you're blind.
And you can hit your head.
Yeah.
You can hit your head doing anything.
True.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, brain bucket guy now. Is that it's a requirement from GT, right?
It's not a requirement, but they don't want to post anything that require, or that
you're not wearing a helmet.
That you're not wearing a helmet. They have to post things that are of riders wearing helmets.
Yeah.
They don't demand it of you. They just say we can't repost your shit if you're not wearing a helmet.
That's pretty fair. That's
so it's like
crazy.
So if I wanted to wear a helmet, I was like, okay, sure. I'm like, that's honestly a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, when I talked to Z, he's like, it's not a requirement, but we ask you that you wear it just so we can repost your stuff. But like, you can ride without a helmet whenever you want, but just for us to actually repost it. Like we asked that you wear a helmet from time to time. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, that's honestly like a good reason for me to just wear a helmet. Like, I just took it as an excuse to, I'm like, okay,
I'm a helmet guy now.
And
there's really no winning the argument of like, I don't want to wear a helmet. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, like, why? You know, like I recently had this talk with somebody and it's just like, yeah, you're right. It's probably smart to wear a helmet. Yeah. You know?
And I went all these years without any pads, nothing. And the helmet was the beginning. And then I got the worst shinner. I got stitches for the first time in my life, busted open my shin. And like, I should wear shin pads. Like, why haven't I been doing this my whole fucking life? And it's a game changer. And I'm like, then I was out filming with you and I rolled the crap out of my ankle and I was out for like a month and a half. And I was like, I should get an ankle brace.
Yeah.
So now I'm wearing ankle brace, shin pads, helmet. Still no knee pads. I might get knee pads because I'm already there. Might as well throw on like the slim ones. And I think it's just protecting yourself as you get older. But I wish I viewed it as a younger kid, and because there's the stigma behind it that, oh, you look cheesy or it's dorky or like you look like a fucking nerd. But like, how many more days could I have been riding if I didn't like hurt myself? Like the shinners, the busted up knees, the rolled ankles, like how much more riding could I have done with that stuff?
It's crazy how
many more tricks I could have tried and not been scared because I know like, oh, I've got pads on. I'm not going to hurt myself.
It's crazy how much of a part of the game is just being hurt. Like BMX doesn't come, you can't reach anywhere in BMX without being injured and going through pain. And I don't know, at this point, pads are so low key now, like Shadow's like
Invisalign. They're you don't see them.
You don't know that I'm wearing pads when I'm wearing pads right now for this podcast and you can't fucking tell. It's fire. Shadow.
Yeah, they're great. I love how slim they are. It's a little weird at first, but now I don't even notice it. Yeah, it's just something you get used to, and I'm glad that I wear that. I'm glad I wear it on my helmet. Our friend Joey passed away recently from hitting his head.
Freak
not
accident.
From riding, but
just
freak
cart.
Accident. Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, like freak accident. You could literally just like walk outside your door, trip on the
life is fragile.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to, the littlest thing could take me out. I'm like, that's not worth it. So that's another reason why I'm like, there's no reason why I shouldn't wear a helmet. I'm doing, does anybody make fun of football players for wearing helmets?
Right. Yeah.
Does anyone make fun of a baseball player for wearing? No. Like, why is it our sport? It's too cool to wear when we're doing like gnarly shit, when we're jumping off roofs and we're like, like, doing a trucking down like a 15 stair like El Toro or something, and you're like,
would have been cooler if he wasn't wearing that stupid helmet.
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing to ourselves? Like, why are we so hard on ourselves? Like, everything's got to be so cool, and I just feel like
aesthetic. It's for the
and I get that, and I was like that for the longest time, but maybe it's just as I'm getting older, I'm like, what does it matter?
Same.
Like, why? Yeah. Like, why did I have that belief? And it's because I feel like it's the other people around you. When everyone says that, you're like, oh yeah, it's fucking lame.
Yeah.
But now as I gotten older, I'm like, fuck that. I'm wearing a helmet. Like, I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to be out. I'm not going to miss out on, opportunities or even my own life because I didn't want to wear a helmet.
Yep. It's funny how that works. You get older and then you're like, oh yeah, none of those people's opinions don't matter.
Because you're young and you're like, I'm choices. Invincible. I'll live till 150. And then you get older and you're like, damn, that went by fast.
Yeah.
Time really isn't that long. Like I want to live another 36 years. So just taking care of yourself, and that's
Yeah. Let's see that phone. Let's get the audience submitted questions. I'll scroll through, pick a couple, and then speaking of time flying, we got to get out of here. It's past our bedtime. All right, popular guy. Speak on the Arizona scene, past and present. Westside Legends. Shout out Clay.
What is up? What up, Clay? The AZ scene, past and present. Initially, the AZ scene was the Sombra, Ratboy, Gons, Smoker Dave. That's where I think the true AZ scene kind of like started. And then it morphed into, I I think the next people to come up was Casey Badger. Sure was living here at the time. He lived here for a short amount of time, but they were riding together. And then I think that's like kind of like around the time when we came in, like me, Chadwick, Sam, Dustin, just basically the I got work crew. Yeah, is like kind of like that next surgeons. Clay and Robbie were there with us as well. The whole AZ scene was really big. Peg Leg. Well, they weren't from here, but yeah, they were on Peg Leg. Then you had the whole Phoenix skate park crew. It was actually Vans at the time. It was at Metro Center Malls, Vans, but then they went under and it turned into Phoenix Skate Park. And that was the really big scene of like all those kids. That's when Road Fools, I think that's when Road Fools 9 came in.
I never got to go there.
And that was actually when it was still Vans. And random thing about Road Fools, was it 9? Whatever one they came here, I accidentally took Gary Young's bag. We had the exact same Odyssey backpack. And I came home and I opened it and there's just cash and this funky white
$10,000 of
funky
cash.
Little white thing called an iPod. I'm like, what the fuck is this thing?
Oh no shit.
And it was like back when like it just came out. I'm like, what? I didn't like
the OG with the 4 touch buttons and the circle in the center. Wow.
Like the first and I was like, oh fuck, like I must have grabbed the wrong bag, and I didn't know whose it was, and so I knew I left my phone in my bag, so I called my phone, and luckily like Gary picked up, and I was like, hey, did I leave my bag there? I think I grabbed the wrong bag. He's like, yeah, dude, like totally. This is where we're at. We're in the RV right now, so I drove out there, met up with him, we exchanged bags, and
nice.
That was like the first interaction I had with Gary Young. Pretty funny.
That's crazy.
Me stealing his shit.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But that whole Phoenix skate park scene with like Andy Leland.
Legend.
Dude, that's honestly, that could be a Mount Rushmore type of guy. Like he was so underrated. He did the crank arm double bar spin.
Yeah. Crank arm grind on a rail, double bar spin in the middle
while
of it.
Grinding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was super dope.
He actually was at the skate park when I was trying to learn tail whips back in the day and told me the exact same thing that Dustin told you. Perch your legs up like a bird of prey.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe it's worked its way from him to Dustin to...
yeah, that was a big scene. Then I think it was the I Got Work stuff. Around the same time, like Clay and Robbie were really big into the street scene.
Yeah,
they're doing the Street Fighter jams.
Yeah,
so dope. Like those are so much fun. I think it was. I don't know if it was the first one or the second one. I think I won the first one. I did the 180 fakie grind up the rail at Deck Park.
Yeah.
And then
Brock asked me if anybody had done that when he was in town.
Yeah, he asked me.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, oh, I did that like 12 years ago. Not trying to flex, but I was just like, it's just weird. Like,
ABD, bro.
That still blows my mind. That doesn't seem like me to do something like that.
Well, you get hyped up at a jam.
Yeah, that's true. Jams are so much fun. To then, I think, morphing into the mediocre era. I think the mediocre era was...
That's got a good ring to it. I like that.
Yeah. It's like the Jurassic period.
Yeah, the mediocre period.
There's the mediocre period where everyone was living in Tempe.
Yeah.
Like that mediocre house. I lived like down the street from you.
Yep.
Everyone, that was a really fun time. And I think everything shortly after that faded away. I feel like there was like
for us, at least a little bit, yeah. But there's always crews that... Like, I don't even know about right now. But Zach Beerley lives with Chandler.
Yeah.
Or not Chandler. Brain right now. And they're out riding all the time. Nick Bonnell's been carrying the torch for 9 years at this point. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put label a crew now. But we're all still kicking, just
but I don't know if
slower.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thing with social media that people are more like spread out and doing their own thing. Where there's like less groups of people. You're like, it's the Vegas crew. Oh, it's like the SD crew. Oh, it's
right.
Like, because there always used to be like a city and you would know that group of people, and now it's like
right. Well, everybody's an individual. Yeah. Everybody's their own like media company.
Everyone's their own brand. Yeah.
Is there anything in your Chandler Golden? Is there anything in your BMX career you wish you would have done differently? We kind of talked about that, like wearing a helmet or all that shit.
What I would have done differently is focus on building up my own brand. I think I would have worked on myself more as an individual, because I think a lot of people think that the sponsor is the way to get to where you want to, but they're just using you as a pawn, essentially. Like, you're just the advertisement. You need to like work on yourself, build up your own skills, your own presence, especially now with social media and like all the different brand deals you can get and stuff like that. It's like, work on yourself to become your own entity, and expand on that. And I think the perfect example of that would be like Nigel.
Yeah, agreed. Nigel, I think Jaron Barboza is doing a good job with that.
Yeah, Jaron is due, yeah.
Who else is doing that right now? Outside, like taking BMX, Nigel's just the perfect example. He's a,
he made himself the brand versus the brand making, like, sponsoring him. Like,
I'd say Austin Augie did a good job of that.
Austin's good.
Parlayed his BMX world
Brad's
into modeling.
actually,
Brad's
what?
killing it. Yeah.
The reason why I really got back into the whole, like, the last year getting into TikTok and everything was because of Brad. Hearing his origin story of like coming back into it and going full force and like going hard on social media,
just giving it a year,
and just going hard on it. And now he's at where he's at because he just went full on.
Yeah.
And my biggest regret is that I took my jobs too seriously. I was so worried about income that I'm like, I couldn't go full time being a BMX rider. I couldn't just like take off work and go on these trips and like do all these things because I was like so dedicated to work.
Yeah.
That I wasn't able to grow as a rider and do more things and go on more trips, but that's its own thing.
Yeah.
So.
I got work. I am curious about this one. Tyler Cryan says the ranch contest. What is the ranch contest?
The ranch contest is when I worked at Corners Pasty. I was right next door to Corners Pasty was Chiba Hut, and they had a ranch chugging contest.
Oh no, I don't want to know. Did you win?
And me, being the cheap ass that I was, if you win, we'll give you free Chiba Hut for a year. I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. I'm like, I'm down. So during my shift, I took a break and I said, all right, I'm gonna go do this contest and I'm gonna come back. I literally went over there by myself on my lunch break. Like the middle of the night. They had it at night for some reason, and there was this 32-ounce bowl of ranch.
I'm gonna throw up, dude.
Homemade ranch, the ranch that they make in-house. And they said, okay, there's this bowl of ranch, and here's like bread. So like after you chug it, you have to like wipe it clean with the bread, like to wipe it all out. Don't stop until someone tells you that you're done. Like just keep going. I'm like, okay, all right, I got this. So they said they count down, and I lifted up, and I thought it was like gonna go down like a drink, and it was like, oh shit, like I had to stop myself and like had to like slurp it down. It was like a smoothie. It's like, it's so thick. So I was sitting there drinking the whole thing. I got down to it. I was like wiping it out, and I ate like the last piece, and the guy's like, oh, he got it, he did it. I'm like, okay, sweet. So I stopped, and I'm like, oh man. I was like sitting there for a second as the other guy across from me is like just about to like finish up. And I hear some other guys like, no, like his bowl is a little bit more, like he's got to get more. And I'm like, so I just like grab like another piece of bread and like wipe it like even more, like so it's like spotless, and I eat that. And then the guy next to me backed out super early because he's like, fuck, he took like one sip. He's like, no way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna seal the deal and just take like a huge gulp of his. Like I'm gonna go above the 32 ounces and drink like 40 ounces.
Yeah.
So I grabbed his bowl and took like a huge chug of it and put it down. And that guy had just finished like before I put my bowl down. And they were like, Chiba Hut is a sandwich shop that is all weed related for you people who don't know. There are a bunch of stoners there, and they don't know who won. They're like, who do we choose? We don't know. So they're like, all right, everyone cheer for this guy, and everyone cheer for this guy. All his friends were there, and I was by myself. So guy fucking won. And I got shot. They gave me like a couple subs. And I'm like, they're like, good effort. But then, I had to go back to my job, and I felt miserable. I threw up like 3 times.
As you should.
It was.
I would hope you throw up. It was horrible.
So that's the ranch story.
Fuck the ranch contest.
I love
could be a
ranch.
Seinfeld episode. That's a Kramer thing, dude.
I didn't like ranch for like 2 weeks, but now I'm back on it. I love ranch.
Chadwick asks, what is a triple thick milkshake?
A triple thick milkshake. This ties back into me working at McDonald's.
I knew it.
I loved milkshakes, and they called them triple thick milkshakes. So I invented, I didn't invent it, but it was the, like Bruce Chrisman would do it as well, the fakie slider bar spin. Like you're going fakie and you do a bar spin on flat ground. Like,
triple thick.
and so I would do a bar to bar back to bar. So it was a triple bar. And so I named it the triple thick milkshake.
That's pretty good. Dat cat Jake. Man, I haven't seen you in a minute, Jake. Coolest place BMX has taken you?
The coolest place I've been, I would say, is all of my friends, we went to Europe in 2010 for like 5 weeks. We just road tripped all the way around Europe. We flew into London, took the train to Brussels, went to Prague, like, Czech Republic. We went to Amsterdam. We went to Germany, Berlin, went all the way down to Rome.
You guys did it.
We did the whole Europe like loop.
That's rad.
We took a ferry over to Barcelona because the train was broken at that point. So we like took this boat to Barcelona, up through France, and then back up to the UK, and then back out. So
amazing.
The Euro trip was definitely the best.
I can't believe I never did a Euro trip. I did Barcelona for like 10 days with Freed.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Barcelona's magical.
It really is. I got to do a Euro trip before I'm too old.
Yeah.
Train station comes through with a bunch of questions. Rapid fire. How tall are you, and what are the specs on your bike?
I'm 6 foot tall. Right now, my bike is, my top tube is 21 and a half.
21 and a half?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. And then
I asked for a 21, and GT was out at the time, and they said, well, 20 and 7 quarters, 20.75 or 21 and a half. I'm like, well, I don't want to go smaller. I'll just go big. So it was weird to get used to at first, but now I love it. I don't notice any difference.
And then Zach DePate says, pro tips for content creation, but I think you should just follow Eric, as you already do, and ask him to make reels about content creation. I think you should create, because like what you were talking about with your creating shit for BMX, creating stuff for Pace, like you're a content creator expert at this point. It would be cool. I would watch some stuff with tips, like just little shit that you said in this interview, honestly, just like taking a trend and how to make it your own, and making
like how to
videos
apply
about
it.
that. Yeah, no, you could be
I think that's the best
social
answer
media
to
coach.
that is
yeah. I love it, man. And just like that, our podcast is wrapped. It's time for me to go to bed.
Bobby's sleepy. Tired Bobby.
It's 10 o'clock. Eric, thanks for coming on. Any last words or piece of advice for all the peoples out there?
Just ride bikes and have fun.
Ride bikes, have fun. Beautiful. All right. Adios, amigos.
Peace.
Hey, congratulations. You reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. I'll see you next week with Ron Bonner. Why did I wink? Fuck off. Just like and subscribe.